if we actually developed a relationship with chimps,
I don't think that's a very good idea.
And apes and monkeys, yeah, I do. Do you not think that we could harness the intelligence they have to become part of our workforce?
Good morning, I'm Mike Graham, he's Mike Parry. You're listening to the Two Mikes on Talk Sport. It's all happening at West Ham this morning as it's been revealed that the club is refusing to renew Slaven Bilic's contract. Could Rafa Benitez or Jaap Stam be running the Hammers next season? We'll be wanting to hear from you on that. 08717 22 3344. We'll be looking ahead to the return of the Premier League in the company of Grammy Award-winning producer Steve Lillywhite, and we'll be asking whether the video ref is going to make the game better or worse. Coming up also on the show, it's Porky Quiz Day, and ahead of the big Liverpool-Everton game this weekend, the subject just has to be the Merseyside derby. I'm predicting 3 out of 10, but I haven't seen the questions yet. You're listening to the Two Mikes with me, Mike Graham, and Mike Parry on Talk Sport. This is Talk Sport. We are the Two Mikes. It's a very historic day. It's time to say a very, very good morning to Mr. Mike, a Porky, a Parry. Very good morning to you, Mr. Parry.
And a very good morning to you, Mike. And the situation at West Ham looks as though it's going to be fractious.
It certainly is going to be fractious. It is going to be fractious. Things are not going particularly well.
Not going particularly well.
They're not hovering near relegation or anything like that. It's not been a terrible season for them. It's been less good than the season before. There's been a lot of complaints about the new stadium.
Yes.
But I did say it's an historic day, and I just wanted you to, sort of recognise that before we go on any further.
Historic day.
Yes.
Yeah.
We're leaving the European Union today.
We are leaving the European Union today.
I might ask if you're feeling any different.
No.
Are you feeling any less European?
We're not, in fact, leaving the European Union today. What we're doing is we're triggering...
We are, really.
No, we're triggering Article 50, which is the start of the process to leave the European Union.
No, you've turned into a politician, haven't you?
No.
We've started the process of leaving the European Union. We have Article 50 will trigger... No, we are leaving the European Union today. That's it.
Well, the point
Cut
is...
to the chase.
We are... Yeah, OK, I'm cutting to the chase. But the point is, on the way out, there's a lot of negotiating to do. For instance, I'd be totally against paying this 60 billion quid divorce bill people have been talking about.
Well, we'll talk about this later on, but the problem with not paying it then is that they will then hold that against us and then
we don't need a deal. We don't need a deal.
We do need a deal, actually.
We don't. We want to get out of Europe because there's too much red tape, which we think strangles the initiative of this country.
Except that's not true either.
So just get the red tape and get on with it.
Do you know how many rules of the laws that we have in this country, out of 10, how many are made by Europe?
That's too big and general a question to be answerable.
It's a very specific question.
It is, and nobody's interested anyway, so I think we'll talk about West Ham instead.
Well, we will, but I'm telling you, because I know you don't like to be educated. No. Occasionally you prefer to wallow in your ignorance, but it is only 1 out of 10. 1 law out of 10 in this country is made by the European Union.
Yes.
So for everybody to kick off about how terrible it all is that we're held under the yoke of European oppression, it's not true.
But if we have 10 million laws, then it means 1 million of them are made emanating
a very small number
from Brussels. No, it's a very big number.
1/10.
But anyway,
if only 1/10 of your heart worked, you wouldn't be here.
Well, only 1/3 of it works.
That's what I'm saying.
And I cope with that. But anyway, listen, old Slaven Bilic has got more to worry about today than whether or not we're inside or outside of the European Union.
That's entirely true.
Now, is his country, Croatia, is that inside the Union?
It certainly is.
Is it?
Yes.
You sure about that?
Yes, I am.
One of the 26,
It's one of the ones that was added after the event when we originally started with 7 countries.
Because what happens is now, Mrs May sends a letter to the
I thought you didn't want to talk about the European Union.
Well, I'm just relating it to football.
Okay.
She sends a letter to the head honcho, and the head honcho then
Which
has
head
to...
honcho? What, Juncker?
Yeah, Juncker.
You mean Juncker?
Mr Juncker.
Yeah. Do you know they're having some kind of secret handover today of the actual piece of paper because they don't want the Remainers to make a big fuss about it and start lying down in the middle of the road or something?
No, that's absolutely right.
What is wrong with people?
Is Juncker, is he related to the family that used to make the famous aeroplanes called the Junkers?
Could very well be. I can't answer that.
I would imagine
I can't answer that. I thought you were going to ask if he was related to the people that made the Wankel engine in the NSU factory in Germany.
No, the Junkers, because the Junkers, I think, made the Stuka bombers.
Did they?
And the Stuka bombers were those that went...
Yeah.
You know,
well, he's going in that direction himself.
Yeah, to terrify the enemy and all that kind of stuff.
Can we get back to West Ham now?
Well, I'm going to back to West Ham, because I was talking about Slaven Bilic, Croatian.
Yeah.
Croatia.
All human life is here this morning.
Yes, that's right, yeah. Now, Croatia is one of the 26 countries which now have to respond to England's declaration of leaving.
Yeah.
Well, that will take them, at the normal rate at which these Europeans get together and make decisions, about 5 years, I would say.
A long time.
Yeah, so that's why I'm saying
minimum
don't
2.
necessarily think we're going to get out today.
Yeah, but you see, I prefer it to be thought of as the process as having happened, because it's all very well to say, you know, it's going to be 4 or 5 years or maybe 10 years before there's anything noticeably different. Actually, this is the day that it all happens, and so I think we should call it today as it is, this is the day we left the European Union.
Okay, so what can we frame that day as? What should we call it? Should we call it
Brexit Day?
Out of Europe Day?
Brexit Day.
Brexit's a bit too flashy in my view. Nobody really ever understood what Brexit meant. You know, Britain exiting Europe. Is that what it's short for?
Specifically the European Union.
Yeah, the European Union.
Well, everybody understands what it means.
I think we should call it Liberation.
Well, how about adieu?
Adieu.
A bientôt.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Farewell,
goodbye. Don't sing.
That was in the Sound of Music, wasn't it?
It was.
Yeah, okay.
I think it was goodbye, farewell, actually.
That's right,
to be honest.
Goodbye.
Don't
farewell.
sing it.
Yeah.
Anyway, what's happening at West Ham?
Well, what about adios, amigos?
Adios, amigos is good. I like that. Yeah, that's good.
It's adios, amigos day.
It's adios, amigos to Slaven Bilic by the looks of it as well, isn't it?
Well, it could be.
The only reason you like this story, though, is it not the case, is that you wish to destabilise Rafa Benitez even more in his job at Newcastle, because we all know that's what you're really, your secret agenda is all about.
No, it's not at all.
You've been accused of that in the past.
Well, I may have been accused of that in the past. The point is, I regard Newcastle as a noble and honourable, gigantic club.
Yes.
Because they have the fortune of being a one-club city.
Yes.
And Newcastle has its own very distinct culture. Now, West Ham has a very distinct culture.
In which you immersed yourself for many a year.
I did, indeed, yeah. The Geordie culture.
The Geordie years, we call them.
The Geordie
Porky.
Nah.
Do you know there are people who can't watch Vera anymore because of your impersonation of her?
No, Bonnie lad.
You've ruined it for everyone.
Did you steal your mate's sandwiches from the fridge today? I mean...
people are tweeting me on Sunday night saying I can't watch Vera anymore.
I know.
Because all I can hear is Porky's voice.
Yes, that's absolutely right. Now, the point is, they have a very distinct culture. But
why don't you want them to have Rafa Benitez as a manager?
They can have whoever they want as a manager. It's nothing to do with me. I think Newcastle deserve a good manager, and I think they're a noble, honourable club and terrific reputation, going back to War Jackie Milburn and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
However, older Rafa will obviously work for the board and the boss and the people who fund the football club to his own advantage. And he may well be approached by other clubs after he's got Newcastle back into the Premier League to be asked if he wants to go somewhere else. And, of course, one of the clubs that would be looking for a manager of his calibre, if Slaven Bilic doesn't stay, would be West Ham.
Yeah, but why can't you just say it the way it is? I mean, basically what's happening here is Newcastle are more than likely to be coming up, right? I mean, it's going to be very unusual if they don't. Why on earth would he move from a massive club like Newcastle to a struggling club like West Ham, which is technically what they are this season?
Well, yeah, but they've got a 52,000-seater stadium now, and the idea
which everybody says is built the wrong way.
Well, that's there's a case to say that, I suppose, in the way it's sort of unfolded in the first season. But they've got they've had a few teething problems, but nevertheless, the whole idea of bringing in another manager would be to not make them a club that sort of seems to be, tottering from sort of one dilemma and one drama to another, and to bring some consistency into their play.
OK, well, why don't we ask the West Ham fans, because they will be the experts in this matter. West Ham fans, do you want to see the back of Slaven Bilic? Has the honeymoon period ended?
Yes.
Why has it gone so wrong? And do you fancy Rafa Benitez?
Yes.
08717 22 33 44. This is TalkSport. This is TalkSport. We are at the two mics. The Porky quiz coming up a little bit later on the Merseyside derby, of course. A lot of Newcastle fans already upset with you, Porky, saying if you think West Ham have got a 56,000-seater stadium, what do you think we've got?
Yeah, well, it's 52,000 up at Newcastle.
It's not much smaller then, is it?
No, it's not much smaller at all. What I'm saying is West Ham have now got a stadium of the equivalent size, that's all.
Okay.
Whereas they used to have a, rather older and more compact stadium. They're now in a position to say to a manager, we get 50,000 people here every week.
Yes, OK.
So it's got to be a bonus.
All right, well, let's talk to a man who knows a little bit more about what's going on inside of West Ham, perhaps, than we do. It's Danny Gabardon, former West Ham defender, former Wales international as well. Danny, very good morning to you. Welcome.
Morning, chaps. How you doing?
Yeah, hi, Danny. Very well, thank you.
Very well indeed. I mean, has it gone wrong for Slaven Bilic, or are people sort of reading between the lines and coming up with the wrong number?
Yeah, I think it's been a difficult season. Obviously, you look when he came into the club, the previous season, they performed really well. Really, probably should have finished in a Champions League spot. He did that well, and I think that was probably his biggest downfall. I think this season the expectations have been, really high off the back of that. Obviously, moving to a new stadium, as you mentioned there, the kind of the teething issues there. The player recruitment going into this season has been really poor. He's had obviously stuff to deal with players as well off the pitch. It's been a difficult season, but I think kind of the main reason why maybe the board are not really wanting to renew the contract is I think it's just the manner of the performances on the pitch. You can talk about player unrest, the new stadium, but I think a manager's kind of judged on how his team performs on the pitch, and I think at times this season, some of his tactical decisions, playing players out of position, tactically when they don't have the ball, I think they've been quite easy to play against this season, which wasn't the case the season before. I think that's what the fans are kind of seeing, and what the owners, David Gold, David Sullivan, are kind of seeing as well. And I'm thinking maybe that he's probably going to be judged from now until the end of the season on results, and it could be a case where the summer that they look to change manager, or if he does do well between now and the end of the season, maybe he'll be given to the start next. Maybe the first 10 games, see how things go, and if it doesn't go well, then we could see a new manager in there. But it's been a difficult season. But I just think on the pitch, performances have been poor, and I think that some of that is down to the players, but some of that is down to Slaven Bilic as well.
Yeah, you see, thing is, Danny, I think that the smack of firm management is a good thing, but I think it needs to be a bit firmer here because, to suddenly start, you let information emanate out, West Ham abandoned plans to offer Bilic a new deal in the summer. So they're basically saying that the manager is now sort of on probation for the first 10 games of next season. He's got 1 year left on his contract till the following summer, and if it doesn't work out in the first 10, why don't they just say, look, we've had so many problems, it's been up and down, it's been in and out, we've had problems with the stadium, let's start again and just come to an agreement with Slaven Bilic and get themselves a new manager. That would be better than hedging their bets, and because the one season they did hedge their bets, they went down, didn't they? They got relegated when they, 1 minute they're supporting the manager and then they weren't.
Didn't they do this a bit as well with Sam Allardyce, Danny, where they sort of more or less announced ahead of time that they weren't going to keep him on?
Yeah, they did.
And so he ended up having to manage the team towards the end of the season.
Knowing he was going.
Knowing that he was leaving, which is kind of a weird way to do it, isn't it?
Yeah, they did. And I don't think it's an ideal situation, obviously, for Slaven Bilic, and it's not an ideal situation for the players either.
No, of course it's not.
To one or two of the lads there, and, they love the manager. You never have a bad word to kind of say about him. And, it's not an ideal situation for them, wondering whether their manager's going to be sticking around next season or not. And it does seem to happen quite a lot at West Ham. These things tend to kind of come out, they're leaked. Players who they're going to sign. I know David Sullivan's son's quite active on Twitter and stuff. So, a lot of this stuff does come out, and I think there is a kind of a right way to go about it. If it was me, that's exactly what I'd be saying. Look, we've had a difficult season. It's not all your fault as a manager. We've got things wrong as well. I know, obviously, the player recruitment is not all down to Slaven Bilic. The board are involved with that as well. And, and back him a little bit, from what he did in his first season. I think, he had the team performing so well in that first season. I think he probably deserves to, get a little bit of backing and say, look...
Well, you say back him, but I mean, what I'm saying, I think it's a back him or sack him situation, because I think anything in between is so, mysterious to the fans as to whether the board are backing him, or they've got him on probation, or is the verdict that he's good for us, or is the verdict that he's bad for us. It needs sorting, that's what I'm saying. And the longer you go on letting headlines like this, no plans to offer Bilic a new deal, it's all up in the air. And there's one thing that worries stock markets, and that is uncertainty, and it also worries football clubs.
No, as you said, it's not ideal. You've got a similar situation not far away with Arsenal, Arsene Wenger, and kind of what he's doing, keeping everyone waiting to see, make his kind of decision. And it's very hard to kind of work under those conditions as a manager, and as I said, as the players. So, you'd think, the board would come to a decision. They must know really, deep down, if they want to keep him on, if he is their man, or if he isn't. And it's been quite similar with the fans, to be fair as well, guys. All season, it's been 50-50, really. A lot of fans saying he's got to go. A lot of fans kind of saying, well, it's been a difficult season. We've got to back him. And it seems like the board are in the same situation. But, as a manager, I'd certainly be going in there and wanting to know what's going on either way, so you can kind of plan yourself.
Exactly. I mean, a lot of the fans, as you'll know, Danny, as well, are not too happy with the owners, and many of them say, it's not so much the manager's problem as the problem with the owners, and until we get new owners, it's always going to be difficult.
Yeah, I think you have to give him a lot of credit as well. So, I played in that final season when I was at the club and we got relegated.
Yeah.
The club came in, the owners came in at a difficult time, and you have to be fair, they did a fantastic job kind of turning the club around and getting it on a sound financial kind of footing again. So you have to give them a lot of credit for what they have done, but they are kind of business people as well, I think. So
they're very successful businessmen, and that's why I think that they need to bring some of that dynamism, some of that ruthlessness, some of that decision-making process into what's happening now. You let it go and it drifts, and then you get all kinds of airy-fairy theories, and it needs stamping on, in my view.
Yeah, that sounds a little bit harsh, but what do you reckon?
No, it does. It does.
I think you're spot on. I think you've got to,
I think I'm spot
business
on.
people make some business decisions, I suppose, and address the situation that's in hand. But at the minute it is kind of what it is. The manager's going to kind of get on with it and prove really to the board that he's worthy of staying on. But then you've got to question whether he'll want to work under those conditions then as well.
Well, that's
exactly.
a very good point, Danny.
Exactly.
Some managers should just say that I'm fed up of all this indecision and all that.
I'm walking away.
Thank you, I've had enough.
And also, that won't help recruit a new manager either. Danny, listen, thank you very much indeed. Danny Gavin there, former West Ham defender, TalkSport pundit, of course, as well.
And a Welshman.
And a Welshman, indeed, a Wales international, in fact.
Wales international.
Now, we've got loads coming up. We want to hear from you West Ham fans, though, as well. 08717 22 3344. And maybe Newcastle fans, if you're a friend or a foe of Rafa Benitez is up there, would you like to see him staying on? Yeah. Would he leave to go to West Ham, albeit because they've got, as Porky pointed out, 4,000 more seats? 08717 22 3344.
And by the way, does it work to bring in a new young manager making his way in a league below the Premier League like Jaap Stam?
Jaap Stam, well, very, very possibly so. If you're a Reading fan, you might not be too happy to hear that. This is TalkSport.
Now then, this is the Two Mics. You're listening to TalkSport. We are with Wickes, of course. Right now at Wickes, there's a 3 for 2 on all decking and on all wood care.
Yes, there certainly is. Now, a couple of people not very happy with you. Dom has tweeted out the Two Mics. He says, tell old Porky to keep Jaap Stam's name out of the conversation. Thanks very much. He's doing just fine at Reading Football Club.
Well, yes, I agree. I totally agree. But you have to accept that when a manager of his calibre as a footballer starts to make a mark in the managerial field, he will not remain at a lowly club too long. And I'm not saying Reading is a lowly club, by the way.
That's not very nice.
A club below the Premier League, I should have said.
Radetzky Stadium and all that.
Remember Glenn Hoddle at Swindon? Didn't stay there long before he moved on. This is what normally happens.
Where is he now?
Nowhere.
Thank you.
Nowheresville, I should say. But I mean, he's everywhere. He's everywhere because he's Glenn Hoddle.
It's very harsh.
He's everywhere. He's everywhere. No, I meant in...
a very unfair comment, that.
I qualify that...
He's a top-class pundit on television.
Excuse me. I qualify that by saying in management employment...
I see.
He has decided to take another option in life.
Why are you speaking in a sort of haltingly broken English? Is that in honour of Brexit or something?
No.
People have pointed out that rather ironic that you've decided to choose the words to sum up the leaving of Europe with European words.
That's right. Adios, amigos.
Adios, amigos. Yeah, Brent says this. If Rafa wanted to leave us at Newcastle, he wouldn't have embarked on a perilous trip to the Championship, which could have ruined him. Let's take some calls, though, because we want to know what the people out there are thinking. If you're a West Ham fan, do you think it's time for Slaven Bilic to go, or is it time for the board to actually say, hey, we want to keep this guy? 08717 22 3344. Reese is in Chelmsford. Hi, Reese.
Hello, mate. You all right?
Yeah, very well, mate. What do you think?
Well, I'd start off with last season. Never enjoyed it. Game.
Hang on, you're talking into your phone, into your hand or something, Reese. Can you try speaking a bit more clearly? Sorry.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, that's better. Yeah.
No, this is a swimming pool call, I'm afraid.
He's talking into his hand. We'll have another word with him. Why don't we talk to Tom, who's a Newcastle fan?
That's right.
Up in Newcastle. Hello, Tom.
Good morning, gentlemen. How are you?
Very well,
Very
sir.
well
What would you like to say?
Well, one of the pitfalls of having such a high-profile manager is he is going to be coveted by other teams.
That's right.
There's going to be teams like West Ham, even bigger teams than West Ham, Champions League teams if they need a manager in the summer. Look at his record. However, we're not going to get anybody at Newcastle, and it may actually work in our favour. Rafa wasn't backed in the January transfer window, and he was very, very frustrated about that. If he's linked with other jobs, it might just push the ownership to give him a little bit more leeway in the summer if we do go up. Bring the players that he wants in, Rafa loves a project, and if the project's right in Newcastle, I don't think he will leave. But
I mean, I suppose Mike Ashley and the board would say that they made the right decision not to throw any more money at him because he's going to end up getting promoted anyway.
That's a very fair point, and we don't know why the people weren't brought in January, but if it is, and Rafa made the comment that he didn't know why they weren't brought in. He right up to about 4 o'clock on transfer deadline day, he was quite sure that Townsend was coming in. For whatever reason, it didn't happen. But like I say, if he's being linked with jobs like West Ham, hopefully it'll give a little nudge to the ownership and say we've got to back this man, or there's plenty other places where you can go.
Yeah, no, Tom, you're absolutely right. What the owners of Newcastle have got to do, and, they're very good businessmen as well, remember, in fact, very successful, they've got to make it clear that they're not going to do it on a shoestring anymore, because they've tried that twice, and twice you've been relegated. So I'm sure the message must have now got through, and Rafa Benitez has got such a huge reputation in the world of football, he can actually put it to them. You either back me publicly or I am off ski.
Yeah, and like I say, he's going to have plenty of options. He's not somebody that's going to be short of offers in the summer.
Yeah.
So back the man, give him what he wants within reason. Obviously, you're not going to bankrupt the club. But you've got to invest money to stand still in the Premier League. If you don't, you're completely going to go backwards again.
You're completely right. Yeah, completely right.
OK, Tom, well, listen, thank you very much indeed for that. Let's talk to another West Ham fan, Scott, to see what he's got to say. Scott, very good morning from Dagenham.
Yeah, morning, Mike. Just want to wish everyone happy Independence Day today.
Buenas noches, as Porky would say.
Adios, amigos.
Can I? It's just ridiculous most of the time.
Well, thank you very much indeed. Jim's back tomorrow.
We've got that Newcastle fan. He can gladly keep Benitez. I don't know a West Ham fan that want him over there to start with. We didn't want him last year when he got quoted. It's not our style of manager. He's a dull, boring manager anyway. We've had enough. We've had a dice. That was enough. And I think 98%, 99% of the West Ham fans want Bilic to stay. I think most fans think that last year's transfer budget was the worst ever, and it wasn't really down to him. A lot of the players were not picked by him. And like this season, when his best 11's not on the field, our subs bench wouldn't even get in Orange team. I mean, I've never seen such a poor lot of transfers that we bought this year. I mean, so a lot of it off the Parry situation and the ground. Also, the ground. I mean, what you say, that ground has made a massive difference this year. I don't like it. It's the least I've been this year.
It's made a massive difference in the wrong way. You mean?
Yeah, it's just. The atmosphere, I'm not just talking about the singing and all that, the atmosphere around the club supporters in general, it just don't seem the same this year. I think it's really like lethargic attitude. I think we're just happy this year if we don't go down and start
But isn't that the problem? Isn't that the problem, Scott, though, as well? Because in the end, I mean, West Ham are just below the bottom half, or just in the bottom half of the league. I mean, where were they expecting to be? I mean, are they expecting to be in the top 6? Because that's not going to happen.
Well, if we'd have been at Upton Park this year and had virtually the same squad as last year, I would expect us to stay around the same as last year. But the two things, it was always going to be hard anyway. And honestly, some of these people he's brought in, Northfed and Tor and all that, they are absolutely rubbish. They're just not good enough to play for West Ham. And then when you lose Parry, I know everyone's slagging him off now, etc. But he's a world-class player, and teams like us can't lose world-class players. I just think now what's needed is a bit of consolidation. We need the two Mountie owners to stop coming out and telling everyone who they're going to buy so that everyone finds out about it and it just gets, shot out of the sky straight away. Do something on the quiet. Buy someone like Defoe. Straight away it came out. We're buying Defoe in January. That will come out in December. Yeah. Why not wait till January, do the deal if you're going to do it, and then tell the fans? It's just.
But also, didn't they offer some derisory amount of money, like £5 million or something? Like and you think, well, that's just ridiculous. Nobody's going to sell Defoe for that.
To be fair, he's a bit young for us. We normally buy him when they're about 37.
Yeah. Scott, you said earlier that you thought it would be better if the board went rather than Slaven Bilic going. But of course, that's not right, is it? Because if you did, there'd be another massive upheaval in the club.
No, I don't think the board should go. But I just think they've got to change their mentality. All they was desperate to do was getting that new ground.
Yeah,
and that's their little bit down there.
But that's progress. They saw that as progress. The fact that you've had a few problems is unfolded since you went there. But nobody could deny moving a club to a ground with 52,000 capacity is progress.
No, but it's not good been playing at Ascot Racecourse this year for the amount of, he might as well play there and stuck a couple of stands up. That's not a football stadium. And the thing is, they promised us they was going to bring in seats. It would have been the most modern stadium in the world, retractable seats that were going to come into the edge of the pitch, and then it'll go back out for the athletics. And everyone was, this is fantastic. We've gone in there now, and good luck for cricket going in there. It's more of a cricket ground than a football ground, to be honest about it. It's a nice round circle. You'll have a great atmosphere in there at a World Cup cricket match, but it's just not a football ground.
Yeah. Now it looks like you've got a retractable manager as well, Scott, which is maybe a good thing.
He's got to stay, old Slav. He's got to stay.
Okay. Scott says Slav's got to stay.
Slav's got to stay.
So is that the case in all parts of West Ham? I'm not sure it is. 08717 223344. Quite a few people saying West Ham shouldn't expect much more than what they have. Steptoe says this: West Ham are a mid-table club in Premier League football. Not sure what more they could achieve. They've never been a huge club, more of a yo-yo club. Well, it seems a bit unfair, but I mean, let's hear from more of you. 08717 223344. This is TalkSport. This is the Two Mics on TalkSport with Wicks. Right now at Wicks, there's 3 for 2 on all decking and all wood care. Coming up a little bit later on in the show, it's Porky quiz time as well, and it's going to be on the Merseyside derby, of course, which you won't be able to attend because you'll be here doing a show with me at the TalkSport warm-up. We're going to change tack slightly now because we were talking about West Ham. We're going to come back to West Ham and whether or not Slaven Bilic should stay because we're going to take a little musical diversion into the world of Elton John. An author by the name of Tom Doyle, very, very famous in musical business, has written a new book about Elton John called Captain Fantastic, named after one of his albums. Tom's with us. He's going to tell us what it's all about. Tom, a very good morning to you.
Morning, the two Mikes.
Thank you very much indeed for joining us, Tom. What a fantastic subject. What an incredible sort of man Elton John is and has been over the years. This all sort of starts with his rather interesting rise to fame in the 70s, right?
Yeah, the book's based on around the 70s. I mean, I liked it as a writer to sort of centre on a decade, and obviously, this was an amazing decade for Elton because, he kind of went from being this sort of bashful kid, Reg Dwight, from Pinner, and basically became a superstar, and really, he was, particularly in the States, like the true successor to the Beatles in terms of like sheer sort of rock phenomenon.
And he's 70 this week, wasn't he, Tom? So, I mean, at 70 years of age, to still be literally hauling himself round the world, live concerts, sessions in Las Vegas. This guy's going to go on longer than Keith Richards, isn't he?
Absolutely, yeah. Bionic Elton,
Yeah.
I think, it's one of these things that it's just his passion for music really drives him on. And this is the thing, even in the 70s, he was making 2 albums a year under this really tough contract that he had. And at the same time, he was doing all these tours, So, it really was, a time of amazing highs and amazing lows, so it's a fascinating period to focus on.
It certainly was. Now, within all that, of course, he is a huge football fan. And I have to say, I remember him in 1984, the Cup final, when his team got beaten 2-0, actually going down on the pitch and shaking hands with all the Everton players, the opposition, who were mightily impressed that this music superstar, A, was the chairman of the opposition club, but B, had the time to talk to them. It's formed a huge part of his life, hasn't it?
Well, absolutely. Him and his dad actually had a difficult relationship when he was growing up, but the one thing that they bonded over was going to see Watford in the 50s.
Yeah.
So, this kind of, apart from music, this was his sort of passion, and, basically in 1973, there's this NME journalist called Julie Webb sort of mentions to him in an interview, right, that Watford are in financial trouble and looking for investors.
Yeah.
And 74, he plays a benefit concert for them alongside Rod Stewart at Vicarage Road. And this sort of starts off, he becomes vice president at this time, but it's in name, really, but then later on, he becomes club chairman in 76 and stuff like that, it was an amazing passion for him, There's this great story in 1975, he's in New York, and Watford are playing Walsall and they lose 3-2, right? And he goes into this shop and asks to use the phone to find out the result. And when he finds out they've been relegated to the 4th division, he sits down and starts crying, right? Yeah. And he says the people in the shop must have thought I was mad.
Must have done.
Now, as far as the actual sort of composition of this particular book, Tom, did you conduct a lot of interviews with Elton over a period of time, or how did that work?
Well, basically, I'd interviewed him for Mojo magazine, right? I did about 3 or 4 interviews, which, some of which were quite long, actually. There was one 3-hour one, which was just focusing on the 70s. And when it came to writing the articles, I just realised it was like, I've got tons and tons of stuff that I can't use. In particular, there's one great story about him meeting Elvis in 1976, like a year before Elvis dies.
Yeah.
And I couldn't find space for it in even, the articles that I was writing.
Well, hang on, that's quite a landmark in most people's lives, isn't it? Meeting Elvis.
I know.
Yeah.
I mean, this is it, but it was really tough because, 76, Elton was suffering, from, like, overwork, and he was burnt out.
Overweight.
And all that sort of stuff. And meeting Elvis, obviously, who was in a bit of a state himself, was, I think, a wake-up call, and very sad, really.
Yeah, it was terribly sad indeed.
Well, I mean, sorry to interrupt. He's
sure.
an interesting character, Elton. I mean, everyone remembers that Tantrums and Tiaras documentary where he came across as an incredibly difficult person to be around.
They're looking at me.
Was that your experience of him, or was yours different?
No, he's really funny and stuff like that. I mean, and also he doesn't take himself too seriously. I mean, one incident of this really is the fact that, when he used to go and watch Watford play in the late 70s after he came out, the opposing teams would chant all this sort of casual homophobia at him, none of which, none of the chants I can repeat here, obviously, right? But Elton decided this was, he took it really well. He said it's good-natured English abuse.
Yeah.
I mean, he's not somebody who takes himself seriously.
Yeah. So obviously you've kept a forensic eye on this guy's life. So how long does it go on for? I mean, there was a story about 18 months ago that he was now having to have the lyrics to his most famous songs written in large letters on the stage, but below his piano, because he was starting to sort of get his brain a bit
sort of auto-cue.
Overcrowded. Yeah.
Hey, I don't think, if that's true, I don't think he's alone in that. There's quite a lot of them, and some of them younger than 70.
Well, Ed Sheeran forgot his words the other day on Comic Relief, didn't he?
Yeah, he did, yeah. So how long does he go on for? And is he going to remain life president of Watford while he's still alive?
Well, absolutely, I would say so. I mean, in 2014, obviously they opened the Elton John stand there,
They did, yeah.
It's an abiding passion. I mean, I think that this guy, his two loves are music and Watford, basically, so for as long as he can indulge those passions, he will go on, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, terrific guy.
Well, I wish you all the best with it, Tom.
Indeed,
thank you very
Tom,
much
well
indeed.
done. Thanks
And it's
very much
available, I'm
indeed.
assuming, in all good bookshops.
All good bookshops.
Absolutely, let's hope so.
Absolutely.
Great stuff.
Yeah,
Captain
thanks, Tom.
Fantastic is the name of the book, and what a fantastic character Elton John actually is.
I think it's quite amazing that...
in fact, he's the only one of the only two superstar sort of musical acts that you've ever seen live, isn't he?
I've seen the Beach Boys.
I thought you saw the Beach Boys and Elton John on the same bill.
I did.
That's what I mean. That's the only show you've ever seen.
I think it is, actually.
Yeah.
It was live at the old Wembley Stadium.
Yeah.
And I think you're absolutely right. I can't remember. Oh, I've seen Paul McCartney at the O2. Definitely.
Oh, have you?
Yeah, I saw him live at the O2.
Right,
but then I would, wouldn't I?
Well, those are the only three you've seen, though, right?
Those are the only three I've seen. I saw Mungo Jerry at...
I didn't really want to turn this into bands I've seen.
Hang on. I saw Mungo Jerry at Newcastle Polytechnic.
Right. That doesn't count.
And found out that Ray Dorsey, the lead singer, about, do you remember, about 6 or 7 years ago, is a huge fan of ours, of the two mics.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. Now, he wouldn't remember me from the days when I was a 19-year-old student.
No.
But he was, I think he's been great all his life. Terrific.
Well done. Well, congratulations on turning a conversation into one of rock's greatest superstars into something about you.
That's a bit harsh.
Yeah. Anyway, what were you going to say about Elton John a minute ago?
I was going to say, Elton John is an amazing bloke to have two... passions in cultures which are almost diametrically apart, showbiz and football, aren't they?
Well, you say that, but there's a lot of connections between showbiz and football.
If you don't mind me just saying, my friend Mr. Bill Kenwright is of exactly the same genre. He is a...
Genre?
Yeah, he's terribly successful in the world of showbiz. He's the world's biggest theatre impresario.
Yeah.
And, of course, he has been massively successful as the chairman of Everton Football Club.
And what a charming man he is as well. I had the good fortune to meet him at the Crystal Palace game that we went to. I will not repeat in front of the audience of millions exactly what he asked me about you.
What?
Because that would be unfair. But if you want to ask me on Twitter,
that is
I might
provocative and teasing. He said nothing but good things about me. I'm not saying it
was a bad thing. I'm just saying I don't wish to give that away.
I mean, loads of successful people do go and own football clubs. You know, I mean, we've just been talking about a couple of them.
Well, exactly.
Newcastle and West Ham. Well, no, Rod didn't own a football club.
No, he didn't own one, no, but I thought you said get involved with them.
Oh, no. I said, so they go off and they own football clubs. Yeah. And for instance, Lord Sugar, he very successfly owns Spurs. So it can happen.
Yeah, it can happen. It does
from different fields. And it's been good for football to have people like that in, because you need brains other than just football-satiated brains to make football better.
Absolutely
Do you
right.
get my point?
I do get your point.
Good.
I'm going to be talking about satiated brains coming up in the next hour, but not necessarily with football.
Yes.
This is Talk Sport. Good morning, morning, I'm Mike Graham, he's Mike Parry. You're listening to the Two Mikes on Talk Sport. Coming up in this hour, we're going to take some more of your calls on the West Ham situation. Is Slaven Bilic destined to be kicked out of the club sometime in the summer? Apparently at the moment they don't have any wish to reorganise a contract for him or renew the one that they've got. Is Rafa Benitez in the frame? Is Jaap Stam in the frame? 08717 22 3344. Coming up in this hour, we'll be talking about Everton's new ground. Will it be underwater in a few years' time? Will global warming put an end to the new plans that the Toffees have got? Plus, of course, it's a Porky quiz on the Merseyside derby this weekend. You're listening to the Two Mikes with me, Mike Graham, and Mike Parry on Talk Sport. This is Talk Sport. We are the Two Mikes. There will be a podcast coming out a little bit later on. Madge says this. I love how a book about Elton John ends up in a story about Mike Parry seeing Mungo Jerry in some technical college. When's that book coming out, he says?
No, it's the broad range of my acquired knowledge over a life of enduring experience. Can we put to bed, please, first, this ridiculous notion which is spinning around, mischievously, about, Everton's new stadium's going to be underwater. How is that going to happen?
Well, it is going to happen because there's a man at a place called Manchester Metropolitan University by the name of Graham Hayes.
Oh, some technical college in Manchester,
Metropolitan University Manchester is Manchester Polytechnic formerly, which of course is similar to your great seat of achievement, which was the Nottingham Poly.
The University of the Trent.
Well, anyway, you call it University of the Trent, so this is now called Manchester Metropolitan University. Now, Bramley Dock in Liverpool is the area where the Everton have
Bramley
decided...
Moor, actually.
Well, it's called Bramley Dock, apparently.
It might be a different place.
Well, it's right by the water, isn't it?
Well, docks usually are.
You told
That's
me.
Where you get the water
you just
from.
said it's called Bramley Moor.
Yeah.
Well, which is it then?
It's Bramley Moor Dock.
Bramley Moor Dock.
Yeah.
So there's more rubbish coming out of your mouth then.
No.
The bottom line is that because it's next to the water, and the predictions are that rising sea levels by the year 2100 are going to mean that, the problem is that basically lots of things are going to go underwater.
Oh, really?
Yes, they are. This is according to an expert.
What, like Canary Wharf in London? And
some people
maybe
have
the
said
Shetland Isles,
Well, not necessarily
half
the Shetland
of
Isles.
Ireland.
See, you can be as dismissive as you wish to be in that rather annoying and irritating way of yours, if you wish. You'd be completely and utterly disrespectful, not only to me, but to the millions of people who actually agree with this research, right? In an article for The Conversation, Mr. Hayes wrote, as a researcher in sustainable business models, surely spending £300 million on a waterfront stadium is a significant risk in terms of sea level rise.
Yes.
Recent research has showed that by the year 2100, sea levels could rise by 2 metres, right?
Is that right?
And that is only 83 years into the proposed stadium's 200-year lease.
So
he's actually trying to offer some help and a warning to the people who own Everton Football Club to say, are you sure that if you want to take out a 200-year lease on something like this, do you want it to be, one, so near the water, and two, not built high enough so that the water doesn't flood it?
I see. And the Sydney Opera House, which is merely a few hundred miles from the Antarctic ice flow.
A few hundred miles?
Yes.
How far do you think it is from Sydney to the ice flow, then?
What's going to happen to...
How far is that?
What is going to happen to the Sydney Opera House?
Well, he's not writing about the Sydney Opera House.
But the Sydney Opera House is built in the water. It's built in the water.
No, it's not.
They had to drop the boulders in the water to build the Sydney Opera House. So what is going to happen to that?
You're now becoming hysterical.
No, I'm not. Your ridiculous theory.
It's not a theory.
It is.
And it's not my theory. It's the theory of a man who knows about these things, who is a researcher into this particular area. All he's saying is that there's a risk here that the water levels could rise to such an extent that the ground gets flooded.
Now, listen here, numbskull.
I know. I would think that you would be willing to take that information and pass it on to somebody who cared, rather than becoming all Donald Trump-esque and standing there, like King Canute saying, no, the waters aren't rising around here anytime soon, because I know more than everybody else, because you know what? I'm the biggest brain in the Western world.
Listen here.
My name is Donald Parry.
Yeah, listen here, numbskull. Have you never done the experiment, which I've done to many people, to disprove this ridiculous theory? You put a load of ice in the glass.
You're saying
put a load of ice in the glass.
No, we've done all this before.
And then you fill it with water to the brim, and then as the ice melts in the glass, what happens? Nothing. The water does not rise. When ice melts, the levels of water do not rise. Do you understand?
Yeah, but that depends where the ice is coming from.
No, it doesn't.
Yes,
it doesn't depend at all.
Yes, it does.
Well, name me one thing that's disappeared underwater over the last 200 years.
5 Pacific Islands.
Rubbish. Name them.
I've got the piece here.
Name them.
Submerged islands, part of the Solomon Islands.
And how many people lived on these islands?
Oh, well, that's another question, isn't it? Why do you keep grasping at straws? Why don't you just admit? All right,
no habitable outposts have ever disappeared underwater.
All right, one of the islands, listen to some facts and keep your mouth shut for 2 minutes.
No.
Nuatambo Island, right?
Nuatambo.
Guess how many people lived there?
one.
25 families.
25 families.
They've now lost 11 houses and half of its inhabitable area since 2011.
Rubbish.
The Solomon Islands are a nation made up of hundreds of islands with a population of around about 640,000.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
Now, a study which has been done there suggests that there are hundreds of islands at risk of going underwater.
What's this got
Many
to
of
do
them-
with the River Mersey, by the way?
Well, because it's all, the world is all connected, in case you haven't noticed.
Yeah, and can I tell you something else as well?
Do you know that most of the world is made up of water?
Can I tell you something else as well? That what happens in those islands when there are archipelagos? You know what an archipelago?
Archipelago.
Yeah,
Do you know what that is?
Yeah, archipelago. What happens is that the tidal drift of these islands and the way that the tides swirl around, usually when it's adapted to a tributary of the Gulf Stream pressure, is that these...
A tributary of the Gulf Stream pressure.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, what happens is these waters, they whiz around one island to another and they lift silt off one beach and they take it and they move it and they dump it on another.
Is this the world according to Mike Parry?
Yes. So for every minute island that you say has disappeared, I can tell you 10 have appeared because the silt has gone and laid somewhere else.
Well, since I've named you all these islands that have disappeared, I've just named you one.
Atlantis was the last island to disappear underwater, and that didn't even exist.
See, it
didn't even exist.
All you're doing is being bilious and shouting, right? Which does not win an argument. Okay, the first person to shout loses the argument.
No.
I'm naming you at least one island which has disappeared. It is called Nuatamba Island.
Nuatamba
Now,
Island.
you're going to now name me
It's
one
all
island.
here for Nuatamba.
So you're going to now name me one island which has reappeared or has apparently come from nowhere, are you?
No, not at all. Because
you don't have any, do you?
No, you can't name a pile of silt which moves from one part of the ocean to another as
I
an
would
island.
call you a pile of silt if you emerged out of the water.
Well,
or maybe that would be a slight misprint.
And I do not want you to...
Now, tell me again about your expertise on these matters. How far is it from Sydney to the Antarctic?
It's a long
couple
way.
of 100 miles, you said?
Yeah.
Go on, give us another estimate.
No, because...
How many miles would you say it is?
Well, I can tell you something. The Sydney Opera House is a lot closer to the Antarctic ice flows than the Mersey, OK? Let me just tell you that.
House. What, you think that Sydney is closer to Antarctica than it is to a river in Liverpool?
Of course it is, you idiot.
Well, of course it is. It's a different hemisphere.
That's what I'm saying.
You complete plank.
Yeah, and well, the Sydney Opera House is not going under any time soon.
Well, you don't know that.
Of course I know.
Why don't you just admit you don't know what you're talking about instead of ranting and raving on and shouting like some kind of madman?
I don't know what it is
you
you're
don't
going
like
on
the fact
about.
just because Everton happen to be involved and you can't see any reason.
And you trying to put the poison in on my football club,
Not at
so
all.
of course I'm going to defend
I'm simply pointing out to you that, you see, once again, you've become abusive. I'm simply pointing out to you that this guy, Graham Hayes, is trying to be helpful to Everton Football Club by suggesting that you might want to look at exactly how you build the stadium, and so you might want to put it up on stilts or something.
Can I just remind you?
By the way, it's 3,404 miles from Sydney to Antarctica.
Yeah, well, that's about right.
You said it was a couple of hundred.
Can I tell you this?
Seen the time, by the way.
Old Trafford, the home of Manchester United.
Yeah.
Do you know where that is actually located?
It's in Salford.
Salford Quays.
Yeah.
Quays. What does that mean? What do keys mean?
Keys? Well, the keys I have for my house. Keys I have for my car.
Quays, of course.
Oh, keys, right. Well, that's a form of dock, isn't it?
Yeah. Near water, right?
Yeah.
So is Old Trafford, Manchester United going to sink under all this water as well?
Because
that's closer to water than Everton Stadium.
You see, again, you show your complete and utter ignorance of the facts. Just because it's near water doesn't mean it's at risk of being flooded.
Why?
But it depends on how that water is actually being diverted around the various buildings that are there.
That's a load of rubbish.
You know nothing about anything.
I do.
Incredible. This is Talk Sport.
I know everything about everything.
This is the Two Mics on TalkSport with Wicks. Right now at Wicks there's 3 for 2 on all decking and all wood care. Quite a lot of people reacting to your very obnoxious rant there in the last
Well, it wasn't
section.
obnoxious. It was
I know
was
everything
factual.
about everything, says old Porky, according to Jane.
It was
But
factual.
we'll come back to that in a little while because we've got some people waiting very patiently to talk about their beloved West Ham. One of them is Tez, who says there's no reason to get rid of Slaven Bilic, I think. Tez, a very good morning to you. Hello, Tez, are you there?
No, we don't seem to have Tez.
No sign of Tez. Let's try Steve. Hello, Steve.
Hello.
Hello, Steve. How are you?
I'm not Ted.
No, you're Steve.
I'm not Ted either.
Can I be a divorce lawyer when you two finally get divorced?
Well, don't worry.
You argue worse than
Brexit Day, isn't it?
Yeah, of course it is.
You just argue worse than me and my ex-wife.
Oh, well, never mind about that, Steve. What about the West Ham situation? What are you feeling?
Well, Well, my feelings are that the people that should go are the Three Stooges in charge. They have killed West Ham United. I used to go week in, week out, home and away, was a season ticket holder for very, very, very many years and haven't set foot in a new ground. Will not set foot in a new ground ever, no matter who they are playing. They have killed the club. They got loads of players in that nobody had ever heard of, spent loads and loads of money getting them here, and they are rubbish. They couldn't even get in Everton's reserve team.
Well, but hang on, mate, hang on. Don't you appreciate that they've tried to take the club on? They've got you a new stadium. It's had a few teething problems. They've put money in.
No, hold on a second. There's not a lot of West Ham fans that say that we shouldn't have moved. I didn't want to leave the bowling because obviously the bowling was West Ham.
But you had
we
to.
Did need to move to keep up with, like, Arsenal moved from the library to the Emirates, but they moved just down the road. We've moved to Stratford, and it's not a football ground that we've moved to. It's an athletic stadium. There is no atmosphere in there. They're going to get astronauts down there to train because there is no atmosphere there whatsoever.
Very good.
So far away from the pitch, it's unreal. I went there during the Olympics. Great stadium for Olympics. Absolutely wonderful.
Yeah.
But it's not a football stadium. There was loads of places we could have built a purpose-built 50,000 stadium in, like, West Ham, where the old sugar factory was, where the old Mattison's factory was. We could have built there.
Could you have redeveloped the site? Could you have redeveloped the site of the bowling the way Spurs are doing it?
Because of the bus garage at the back. Couldn't have done it.
Right, OK.
But you couldn't have done that for the... But hang on, Steve, that couldn't have been done for the same amount of money, i.e. the taxpayers paying for it, and it would have been a much bigger investment for the club, wouldn't it?
Yeah, but then we're investing in a club that's going to be before long after people like me go. I mean, the amount of money I've spent and people like my little crowd that I go with that we've spent on over the years, there are thousands of us. Absolutely thousands of us. We sell our allocation, and the people that are going over there now are not West Ham fans. They're just people who are driving on. Let's see next season how many of these people actually renew their season ticket.
But within all that, Steve, what about Slaven Bilic as your manager?
He's great. He's great. He's working with he's West Ham through and through. Yeah. Even though he went to your mob.
He did, yeah.
But he's West Ham through and through. He knows what we want, and if he's given a free rein to do it, and let him buy the players that he wants to play, that he wants to buy, then if he doesn't do the job, then he's got to go. But he's not being given a fair and getting Benitez in. That's rubbish.
Well, when you say he's not, when you say he is now currently doing the job, what sort of a job is he doing now? Because it's not brilliant. They lost the last 3 games, haven't they?
Yeah, but you look at the players that we're playing with. None of them are his players. None of them that he's bought that have come in are his players. He didn't go and get them. Brady, Golden, the other stooge went out.
But that's the case in lots of clubs now, Steve. You know, people have football directors, they have board members who buy players, and the managers often are only consulted about it. They don't get to choose them.
But but some of the people that go out and buy them have actually got an idea what they're buying.
No, we can't say that.
Well, you obviously don't like the owners, Steve, which is up to you. But, I mean, I don't think it's fair to say that they've ruined the club because, to be honest, you can also argue that they've made the club what it is. Let's ask Tez. I think we've got him back. Tez, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Hi.
Oh, great. Thank you very much. Yeah, we missed you before. What would you like to say, Tez?
I just want to say, for me, Slaven Bilic has to stay 100%. The reason being is that the club's been under so much change in the last year that the last thing we need to do is change our manager. We've got someone in that the fans love 100%. He's West Ham through and through, as the last caller said. And the more, if one more thing goes wrong in the eyes of the fans of the club, it's going to cause complete upheaval. I mean, every time we lose and lose badly, we're blaming the stadium, we're blaming the transfers, we're blaming the board. The last thing we need to do is to sack Slaven Bilic, really.
Well, do you believe that he should be given time to pull things round, or do you believe that he's too much interference in the way he's trying to run things at team level?
Well, for one, the Pyatt situation didn't help this year. I think you've got a world-class player there in Pyatt, and he's looking to try and build a team around Pyatt. If that player then decides to leave in December, his initial plan has gone completely out the window.
Yeah.
So I think he's had an unfair crack at the whip this year and this season, because all of his plans, he thought Parry was staying, the board thought he was staying. It's not happened, and it was a real upheaval. Thankfully, we've had Lanzini to come into position to fill in for Parry, and he's doing a fantastic job there as well. But I think Slav needs more time, and for someone that's West Ham through and through, he's got to stay and to keep the fans on side as well with the ball, because they're not in the best of favour at the moment with us lot.
But the problem is, of course, Tez, if Slaven Bilic is an honourable man, which we believe him to be, and he knows that the board at West Ham are not keen on renewing his contract, he's going to start looking around elsewhere for his own worthwhile nature, isn't he? I mean, he's going to say to himself, well, if they're not sure they want to keep me on, I better keep my options open here.
I agree, but it's going to happen the same with the next manager, whoever comes in then. The board are going to get fed up after a season and a half, because of the way that they've been orchestrating things. There's no... the manager isn't given 100% of the transfers, because David Sullivan likes to shoot his mouth off and say, "Oh, look at me, I'm king of transfers because I got Sacco in and I got Lanzini in." He's also got, for one good player that he signed 2 rubbish ones. And it's just going to be a recurring process because of the problems that the board have at the moment, and the way that they are, one, communicating with the public who they're going to sign, two, the way they're running it, slating other clubs. I mean, they're slating clubs. Karen Brady on The Apprentice, slating clubs like Spurs. I mean, they should be someone that we're looking to be like, because 10, 15 years ago, Spurs were on the same level as us. Yeah. They've accelerated into majestic heights, and they're loving life at the moment, and we're stuck. Even though we've got a new stadium, we're stuck where we were when they took over. I mean, last year we finished 7th. Yeah, that was our highest finish. We were great, but we haven't transitioned to change this year for the new stadium, the bigger pitch. But
to be fair, though, Tez, I mean, it's very difficult to go from 7th to anywhere above 7th unless you are a super club, which West Ham are not.
No, absolutely. But you would have thought that the transfer policy in building on the 7th place finish to maintain 7th and to keep around that area should have been something that we were looking to achieve.
Well, I think the owners were talking about, possibly challenge for a Champions League slot, weren't they? They said that was the whole point of going to the new stadium. 50,000 fans, join the big boys, don't hang on to their coattails anymore, compete with them.
Yeah, but the way that they needed to do that was to sign, good Premier League experienced players. All the players that we signed in the transfer window for Gooley, he's come from Spain, a much slower league. We've signed Caleri, who was meant to be promising. Turns out he can't hit a barn door. We've signed Gökhan Toure. I mean, that was one of Bilic's signings, but all these players are not Premier League experienced. I mean, we're not going to go anywhere if we're not signing Premier League experienced players. And we've just thrown so many bad eggs into the mix, and it's just completely blown up in our faces. We could have maintained 7th if we'd have signed decent players, a striker, a right back, things we knew we needed in the summer.
Well, it's the hardest job in the world to pull that.
To make that. Everton have had what is being regarded generally as one of their best seasons, and they can't move above 7th because it's very difficult.
It is,
to break into what is occupied by Liverpool, Manchester United, Arsenal, Manchester City, Chelsea,
and clubs who have
Spurs.
Free money.
Yeah. And, it's not just free money.
It's free money.
Well, it's not free money, but it's very...
Manchester City have free money.
Well, it's not a question of free
money.
Chelsea,
to a large extent,
Everton have just been bought by a multi-billionaire, okay?
No, they've been bought by a billionaire who is not going to contribute to the building of the new stadium, so that's
because
different.
You're going to get taxpayers to do that, like West Ham did.
No, we're not at all.
Yes, you are.
No, we're not.
That's a true story.
No.
Later. Anyway, you better get the Royal Navy involved by the sounds of it, because what we were saying earlier may mean that a part of the stadium will remain underwater for many years to come. You're getting a lot of clog on Twitter for being so objectionable, and I'm very glad to hear it.
You're getting a lot of clog on Twitter for being so unknowledgeable.
Not true. Incorrect. This is Talk Sport. This is Talk Sport. We are the two mics. Lots more coming up, of course, including the Porky Quiz. We normally do the Porky Quiz on a Friday, but there's been special circumstances which have meant it's got moved forward into today's show. And it is about the Merseyside derby, of course. Lots of people are wishing you good luck with that.
Thank you.
Lots of people also acknowledging my mother's birthday. 93 years old today, so I just thought I'd thank everybody for sending in many, many congratulations. Many of them saying, actually, she looks a bit younger than you do. I'm sorry to bring that up, but they are saying that.
Your mother's a fine woman. woman. I hope she has a great day. At 93, that is, she's wonderfully vibrant.
Yes. Now, how about this from a couple of different people? Larry says this: House fans are right. The owners of West Ham United are doing everything on the cheap to maximise their own profits, not the club's success.
No, you see,
I think that's a bit unfair on the owners, don't you?
It's very unfair. The point is, all right, so people say, well, West Ham got a stadium on the cheap.
Yeah.
But that's as a result of the incredible ability that the two owners have in business.
Yeah.
Because, they've made themselves very wealthy men through running businesses properly. All they did was come along to West Ham and say, let's try and run this properly, and they've run it properly, and they've got a new ground. Now, their next challenge, of course, is to try and make the West Ham fans accept the ground, or make the ground acceptable to the West Ham fans, if you see what I mean.
Yes, I do.
Because at the moment, there's a bit of a standoff, isn't there, between the attitude of a West Ham fan we had on this morning, still calling it an athletic stadium, and the sheer warmth that the bowling ground gave West Ham fans for over a century.
Yes.
But you can't live in the past. I mean, West Ham had to move.
And I think that's obviously the case, because more and more clubs, I mean, we were talking about this when Everton were announcing their new stadium.
Yes.
More and more clubs in the Premier League now are no longer in the old stadiums that they once occupied.
Everton will be the 10th to move.
Everton will be the 10th. And so, over the course of the coming years, there'll be no clubs left in the Premier League, I would imagine, that have got their original stadiums.
Well, I mean, Chelsea's will be the original site, but it won't be the original stadium. Spurs will be the original site, but
it's not the original stadium.
Arsenal's is almost the original site, if you see what I mean. So across the road.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is it's not a question of the original site. The original actual structure is gone, right?
Yeah.
Now, how about this from Tom, who says, enjoyed the debate about West Ham. It seems the consensus believe that Bilic isn't the issue.
Yeah.
It's refreshing to hear a manager being backed, and that's true.
Yes.
The midfield general says, can you ask Porky, is the Archipelago a hotel in Las Vegas?
Well, it could be, couldn't it? They've got a few funny named hotels in Las Vegas, haven't they? What was it? What was the pyramid one called? The
pyramid one?
Yeah,
I don't know. I mean, you may be more of an expert. I haven't been to Vegas for a long time.
Yeah, no.
Here's one from Davies, who says, it would not surprise me if Mike Porky Trump Parry becomes a flat earther.
Yeah.
After some of the stuff he said
I'm not
earlier.
a flat earther at all. I just think that the pendulum of reason about looking after the world, looking after the world and the environment and all that, and on the other hand going completely mad. You've got to remember that there is a massive multi-billion-pound industry in this world in which people go along to politicians and say, if you want to be popular and you want people to like you, then just claim that you're trying to save the world. And by the way, for a few £100 million, I'll provide the services to you that help you save the world. It's a lot of it is a huge racket, and everybody knows that now, but it's too late.
Well, only you and Donald Trump apparently know that. And even Donald Trump has actually now rode back on the fact that it's fake news, because he was once asked whether or not he believed in climate change. Yeah. As you have said in the past, he said it's all a hoax, right?
I didn't say that.
Yes,
I said a lot of it is a huge racket. And,
so what's the difference between a hoax and a huge racket?
I said a lot of it is a huge racket because a lot of people thought, wow, vulnerable, gullible politicians are quite happy to make themselves popular by saying, look, I'm saving the world. I'm saving the planet. And a lot of clever businessmen thought there's money to be made here because public money is free to people like me who go and tell politicians how to make themselves popular. That's all I'm saying. We don't look enough at the things like sunspots from the sun, which contribute to climate change.
Really?
I'm not denying there's climate change.
Oh, that's good of you.
I am asking for a thorough investigation as to the reasons for climate change.
I see.
It's not all because we have coal-fired power stations.
Well, listen, when you're standing up to your wasted water and waiting to get your ticket into the new ground, you can tell me that I was right. Gaz says this, MG, the only reason Porky's so offensive and aggressive is because you mentioned Everton. And how about this from Nick?
Yeah.
Donald Parry, that's a beauty. That may be your new name.
Donald Parry.
And Ross says, Mike Porky Parry dismisses the article that he doesn't like the sound of or agree with. Hashtag plank.
Now listen, when you take your dog out for a walk, two things. Firstly, do you see other dog walkers like en masse? Do you see people walking around with 6 leads?
Very rarely. I was on the beach the other day, and I saw somebody with about 7 huskies. But I think that was because they might have been training them, to be dog sled pullers or something like that.
Dog sled
pullers.
Well,
how you have a team
big
of
demand
huskies.
for that down on the south coast.
Yeah, well, maybe they were doing some warm weather training. I don't know, but it wasn't particularly warm. It was quite cold actually.
Because
I don't see those ones that we used to see in New York, where you see people walking with like 12 different dogs,
unbelievable,
down the street.
But you won't believe this, but in the wonderful borough of Gosport, which I live in, of course,
the wonderful borough, has it been renamed?
No.
Oh, it's just Gosport then.
Yeah, but you know...
The wonderful borough of Gosport does not fit.
You constantly try to deride it,
because it's horrible.
And you've never been there.
I have been there. You just told me yesterday
You only ever went there at night.
Well, yesterday... Hang on. You can't have it both ways. So when it suits you, you say to me, you were there for some considerable period of time. Now you're telling me I was only there at night. It was dawn. It was afternoon when I was there.
Anyway, in May, Gosport Council will impose a limit of 4 dogs. Richmond upon Thames, which is another borough.
What do you mean a limit of 4 dogs? A limit of 4 dogs for what?
Any one dog walker can only walk 4 dogs at a time.
I see.
Okay.
Is it a big problem down there?
Yes. And it's not a big problem at all. And the Kennel Club have complained that this is totally unfair because a lot of people go out to work and leave their dogs in the care of dog carers who have to go dog walking with their dogs.
Right.
It says here as well.
That's repetition of the word dog.
It says here in this report that I've managed to obtain.
Is this from the Kennel Club Weekly?
Well, people didn't want me to see this report. It says Richmond upon Thames.
Yes.
Which is near the Thames, Richmond. Funny enough.
In fact, it's actually on the Thames.
It is on the Thames,
Richmond.
yeah. Plans to reduce its maximum from 6 to 4 in the autumn.
Right.
And areas that impose a limit of 4 dogs include Wandsworth, which is in London.
Yeah. It's also on the Thames.
Yeah, that's right. East Herts District Council.
East Herts.
And Oxford City Council.
Uh-huh. That's also on the Thames, isn't it?
No.
Oxford?
No, Oxford's on the Isis.
Has Oxford not got the Thames going through it?
No way in the world, mate.
Sure?
It's the River Isis, okay?
Well, don't call me mates. What do you call me mates for?
Well, because I can't think of anything else to call it.
Jane is suggesting here that you may have been on the old Benelin Red Bull cocktails this morning. She says, why is Porky being so objectionable?
No, I'm not. It's because you're being so foolish about Everton's new ground.
I don't know why I've upset you so.
No, that's one issue I've got to talk to you about, okay?
Yeah, right.
And the fact that, these dogs are being restricted.
I don't think it's got anything to do with the council, how many dogs you walk at any one time.
Well, it does, because they say it's a public nuisance, you see. And
I would say the council's a public nuisance, but we can't do anything about that. How about no more than 4 councillors in a room at the same time?
Now then, sometimes when you're out, do you throw a stick for your dog to recover?
Very rarely, but occasionally, yeah.
Okay. And if somebody said to you, here, I've got a really super stick here for your dog, it'll cost you £18.
What?
What would you do? What would you say?
I would tell them to leave in no uncertain terms. I've got a garden full of sticks.
Right, there's a boutique in Stoke Newington, East London.
Oh, of course.
I mean, this is very much metropolitan elite territory, if you see what I mean.
They've cut all the trees down, but they've got a shop that sells sticks.
And it sells foot-long sticks for £18. They're advertised...
18 quid?
18 quid. They're advertised as wall hangings, and they're available anything from £12 to £18.
So is it like a piece of art then? Is that what you're telling me?
Well, it's just a piece of junk, which is they pass off as art, I think.
Yeah.
There's a florist shop there, and it's selling branches as wall hangings for £18. And the thing is, they just get them off the ground, if you see what I mean.
Yeah.
But I suppose they polish them up a bit and all that kind of stuff. But
that's outrageous, though,
isn't it? Of course, it's outrageous. 18
quid for a stick.
Absolutely ridiculous.
All you've got to do is walk up the road from Stoke Newington, find yourself in a park, and find some sticks on the ground.
Yeah, exactly. And then you can take them and polish them yourself, and if you want to.
You don't even need to polish them,
or just hang them up.
I mean, what I do with sticks is generally burn them.
Why?
Why?
Yeah.
Well, because that's what you do with sticks.
Why do you want to burn things? What do you set fire
I like burning things.
Really?
Yeah.
You're a bit of a
pyromaniac's the word.
I was going to say, a bit of a weirdo.
No, not a weirdo. I like having
fire to things.
No, I use the small sticks that fall off the trees in the garden. I use for kindling, which you put
kindling.
Kindling, yeah.
What's kindling?
You don't know what kindling is?
Well, you mean like in the barbecue?
No, you put them in the fireplace.
Oh, the fireplace.
Have you ever set a fire?
Yes, my mother used to make a coal fire every morning when we were at school.
Your mother ever set a fire?
Before I got up, my old mum got out of bed and she put the coal fire. She put the coal in the fire.
You don't know what she did, do you?
Yes, she did. Yeah.
Have you ever set a fire?
With newspaper rolled up faggots, as we used to call them. The paper faggots, the coal, the bit of wood, and then the paraffin block, which was what was it called? The fire lighter.
Fire lighter.
Fire lighter. Yeah.
So she wasn't a traditionalist then.
Yes, you do every morning.
Traditionalist, you don't use any kind of accelerant.
Anyway,
so the answer is no, isn't it? You haven't ever set a fire.
Of course, I've set a fire.
When have you set a fire?
Hang on, listen. Let's get to the real issue here. And the real issue
is no time anymore.
If you throw sticks for your dog, it can be a dangerous occupation.
We've already talked about that.
No, we haven't.
Yeah, we have. We moved from that straight back to these £18 sticks.
It can hurt your
dog's mouth. You're all over the place today, aren't you?
No,
you only sleep.
I've had plenty
This is Talk Sport.
Now then, of course, you are listening to the Two Mics. We are on Talk Sport and we are with Wickes. Right now at Wickes, there's a 3 for 2 on all decking and on all wood care. Right, now then, I'm going to ask you a few questions.
All right, before you do that, a couple of quick tweets for you.
Oh, good idea.
You were asking for the name of the Pyramid one. Sal says, I've stayed in the Pyramid one. It's the Luxor.
It is the Luxor,
and it was fantastic.
It's got a boat, you know, as you go in. It's got, what was the name of the great Egyptian pharaoh-esque queen?
Hey?
You know...
Do you mean Tutankhamun?
No. The woman who...
Which woman?
You know, Richard Burton and Elizabeth Taylor.
Cleopatra.
Cleopatra, yeah, that's right, yeah. You go on Cleopatra's barge. You go in through the door and you get on Cleopatra's barge.
Okay.
And you actually sail on a waterway to the
How many people
reception
can get in that,
desk. Eh?
You sail to the reception desk?
Yeah. No, you do, yeah.
Can you also bathe in a bath of ass's milk?
No, you can't actually. No, and they don't throw petals all over you as you're on that barge. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Julia says this: a stick for a dog, £18. That's £2 more than Porky spent on your mum's bag for life. Daylight robbery.
That is a bit harsh. No, the sticks that you buy for £18, you don't throw them for your dog. You hang them on your wall for some unknown reason. It's like going out.
It's supposed to be art, isn't it?
It's like going out and saying, "Oh, look, I found this rock on the beach. I think I'll go and put that on me." Windowsill.
You remember the Californian craze of a pet rock,
towing it around.
Used to spend a load of money in a shop on a rock.
Yeah, that's right.
Somebody literally found in the driveway.
Yeah.
How about this from Gabriel? He says, surely given Parry's advancing age, when he was a boy, fire was a new invention.
Fire was a new invention. Dan here says anybody would think that old Porky was the one who'd given up smoking.
Yeah, it's true.
He's very cantankerous and snappy today.
People do notice these things.
Yeah, but it's because of the ridiculous prepositions you put to me.
And Robbie says Porky's gone barking mad. Give him a Porky snack.
No. Here, Sal says, at West Ham United, I've got a seat near the halfway line, but it's miles from the pitch. Right. I was told to be very close to the action. So there are obviously a few,
we may be going down there.
That's the same Sal, by the way.
Judge for ourselves.
Luxor,
We might be able to judge for ourselves soon, because West Ham Everton's coming up, and we may be doing a live warm-up show from there.
I think we will be doing a live warm-up show.
So we can find out how hospitable or otherwise it is for football.
But you see, you can't have it all ways, because if you think of the bowling, everybody used to really say that was a bit too compact, that the players are too close to the crowd.
Yeah, but I've never heard so many people complaining about that, except for maybe the players.
I don't
because it was intimidating for visiting players.
Yeah, it was. I mean, Goodison's like that now. So if we get a new stadium and all that,
presumably, I don't know whether you've seen any plans or if there are any plans yet, but you would not want too much distance between the fans and the pitch.
I think it's got it right. I think the Emirates got it right, because I remember the old Highbury Stadium very well. I used to love that stadium. You used to go down Avenel Road and the vista of approaching Highbury.
Vista?
Yeah.
You mean the vista?
Yes, that's exactly what I mean. Yeah, you'd come down the hill.
Vista is some kind of fake cheese, isn't it?
Don't interrupt, please.
Right.
And you'd come down the hill and you would see the East Stand looming there in the distance. You'd go down there. And then, of course, you've got to remember, and Ray, our pal Ray Parlour will remember very well, the marble staircases and all that were incredibly pieces of architecture in that stadium, and the home dressing room looked right out onto Avenel Road. So whenever Arsenal won or anything, you'd be walking out the stadium and you'd see old Righty leaning out the window of the dressing room, waving at the fans and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
it was. Yeah.
Now I've worked out why there might be a reason for your sort of grumpiness and general cantankerous nature, because I found a study, because I know that you like to always operate with scientific knowledge, right? A study that says children who were exposed to high levels of leaded petrol, which was about 30 years ago, or maybe more, are still suffering from lower intelligence now. Now, this would explain why you can't actually understand anything about global warming or indeed the water levels rising and any of that. And it says scientists in the United States have estimated that by removing the additive, it has raised the average IQ by almost 5 points.
Right.
Which means that if you were thinking of talking, I mean, you worked in petrol stations all through your formative years,
do you know
right?
what?
Inhaling the leaded fuel.
I tell you what, it's even worse than that. I could have some terrible things wrong with me, to be honest.
You have got some terrible things wrong with you, haven't you?
No, what I used to do is, right, I was king of this filling station, right? Even at the age of 16, I kind of ran the place.
Without wishing to put too fine a point on it, it was a criminal enterprise, was it not?
No, it wasn't. No. But what happened was everything was then served by hand. When we used to live in the United States, guys used to hang around at gas stations and say, "Can I pump your gas, mister?"
Well,
give them $1 or something like that.
No, but they were the people that ran the gas station.
Yeah.
Because I remember being always very shocked, because I'd get out to put my own petrol in. And they'd be telling me to get back in the car.
Get them on the car. Yeah, but the bums used to hang around as well.
Really?
They used to. They used to hang around and say, "Can I pump your gas, sir?" and all that kind of stuff, But anyway, the point of my story is, it was a total service station. And when a car pulled in, I would go out and I'd say to the guy, "Hi, what do you want?" He'd say, "Give me 6 gallons of this." I would then take off his petrol cap, put the petrol pump into his tank, and I would then be leaning over the tank as I was putting the fuel in.
Breathing in the fumes.
I'm not joking. The petrol fumes was all you used to breathe for 10 hours at a time.
I used to actually quite like petrol fumes.
Well, I did as well, funny enough, and I never used to sort of shy away from it and say, "Oh, I can't stand this." I thought it's quite sort of romantic, quite exotic, you know what I mean? You know,
well, listen to this. This is going to upset you then.
Yeah.
Researchers have examined a sample of more than 1,000 New Zealanders who, at the average age of 11 in the 1970s, had levels of lead in their bloodstream measured, right? And it turns out that they had so much lead in their bloodstream, in terms of something like 11 micrograms per decilitre, basically, that it was damaging their IQ, damaging their brain power. So you may well have suffered from that.
Well, that's not the worst of it. The worst of it is, in those days, there was no such thing as unleaded petrol. Do you see what I mean?
Right.
These petrol were so full of lead. I mean, you know, you could have paved the local church roof with it. You know what I mean?
Sure,
because it was that.
And I mean, that's a specific exposure. I mean, to say nothing of just the stuff that was on the streets that you were just breathing in as general pollutants.
That's right. But then what I had to do is when a tanker came from Stanlow Oil Refinery.
This was when you were sort of usurping some of the extra petrol and putting it into a special tank.
Not at all. With 4,000 gallons of petrol in it, I used to have to get up on the top of it with these like dipsticks.
Oh, yeah.
Literally were dipsticks, you know.
You and your two mates.
No. I literally, and you had to push the dipstick down into the tank to make sure all the petrol had come out of it.
Right. But did you not siphon off some of it though for future use?
No, I know.
For your own profit.
No, it's ridiculous.
That's what you told me.
An odd tanker would turn up sometimes with some sort of excess fuel remains in it, and it would go around the back of the petrol station, and some sort of negotiation would take place between the owner of the petrol station and the guy who was driving the lorry.
Yes.
And, of course, as a member of the staff, I was encouraged to turn a blind eye.
Well, you paid for the privilege of turning a blind eye.
Well, I'm not getting into that. I mean, I valued my job, and that was all I can say, you know, and that was it.
Right, OK. Well, we'll have much more of that to discuss coming up in the next hour. There is, of course, Porky quiz time.
But my brain literally could have been soaked in lead.
Literally?
No, could be soaked in lead deposits.
Well, I think that's why your IQ is not only lower than it should be, but also continues to decrease in power.
Yeah, I'm still in the top 1% of IQ people in this country.
Are you sure about that?
So if my brain hadn't been saturated by lead...
What do you mean? You say you could have been Stephen Hawking or something?
Yeah, I could have been, I think I could have been,
Only you would turn that into something about what you could have been.
No, just think what I could have been without lead poisoning in my brain.
Just think about that. This is Talk Sport. Good afternoon, I'm Mike Graham, he's Mike Parry, you're listening to the Two Mikes on Talk Sport. We've got loads coming up in this hour, including many of your tweets about Porky's ideas of where he might be now if it wasn't for the lead poisoning that took his brain away when he was a youngster. Of course, we're going to be talking to Steve Lillywhite, Grammy Award-winning producer of U2, amongst many other bands. He'll tell us what he makes of Chelsea's performances coming up this weekend, of course, and whether Eden Hazard is going to leave or whether they should pay him an absolute fortune to stay. We've also got the Porky quiz ahead of the Merseyside derby at the weekend. I'm predicting 3 out of 10, even though I haven't seen the questions yet. 08717 223344. You're listening to the Two Mikes with me, Mike Graham, and Mike Parry on Talk Sport. This is Talk Sport. We are the Two Mikes. There are some great tweets coming in, including one about the Luxor. Apparently there is no boat at the Luxor, and you're thinking of a different hotel
I'm
altogether.
thinking of the one where the laser beam can be seen from the moon.
The laser beam can be seen from the moon. How do you even know that?
What they've done is they've structured a hotel with a very sort of pointed roof, and there's a laser beam comes out of it.
A pointy roof,
Yeah, and it's the only thing that can be seen from the moon, apparently.
Are you thinking of the Bellagio?
Bellagio. The Bellagio.
Sure? Well, they're saying it's a gondola that's in the Bellagio.
It's a gondola. It's a gondola. Well, I told you, a gondola.
Well, actually, Billy says, no, you're thinking of the Venetian that's got a gondola.
I stayed in the Venetian recently. It didn't have a gondola.
Well, maybe that's the one you're thinking of.
No, I'll tell you what the Venetian's got. No, the Venetian has got a pool outside with about half a dozen gondolas in it, right?
Uh-huh.
And these guys, the publicity for them is these men are genuine Venetian gondolas.
Genuine gondoliers?
Yeah, gondoliers. They have been employed in Venice. They've been flown over to America to serve serve you in the pool outside the.
What's got Cleopatra got to do with any of that?
Well, that's a different boat altogether.
No, there is no boat in the Luxor.
But where I found out that this was all a load of Mickey Mouse, right, was that because I'm smarter than the average bear, I hung around and got down low and looked at these gondolas. And they've all got little motors in them with a propeller at the back.
Well, that would make sense.
So the gondolas are not actually, transporting people with the pole.
So why do you need real gondoliers then?
Yeah, well, I don't know. Perhaps they're not. Perhaps they're all born in New Jersey or something like that.
Yeah, very possibly so. Jane says this: Porky's childhood memories seem to resemble a Catherine Cookson novel. His old mum getting up at the crack of dawn to build coal fires.
Yeah.
And Donovan says, "Can please someone in TalkSport find Porky the emergency Pinot Grigio before he loses it?"
That's a bit harsh.
That is a bit harsh.
Now listen, it's Adios Amigas Day, okay?
It is indeed.
So I'm going to tell you a few things about Europe.
Okay.
The population of Europe is 740 million.
Is it?
Now, that's 3 times the population of the United States.
Is that the European Union you're talking about?
Well, funny you should say that. 508 million are in countries that are members of the EU.
Oh, OK.
So the EU itself has 508 million people. That's twice the population of the United States.
Roughly speaking, yes.
Yeah. Europe covers 3.9 million square miles.
Right.
That is 7% of the world's...
Just about 4 times bigger than Surrey, then.
Yeah, about 4 times bigger than Surrey, that's right. And that's 7% of the world's land area.
Yeah.
Do you get that?
Yep.
OK.
7%.
7%.
Right. Well, that shows you how much water there is out there.
Yeah, it certainly does. Now then, what else can I tell you? It has been estimated, and over the last 30 years, has been conceived in an IKEA bed.
What?
Yeah.
OK. How many? 1 in what?
1 in 10.
1 in 10, OK.
Yeah.
All right.
But I mean...
So that's the sort of statistic you should be reading out in a family show.
What I'm going to say is I've never bought a bed from IKEA, have you?
I bought kids' beds from there.
I buy...
No, I bought a grown-up bed from there.
Yeah, well, exactly. I buy Billy bookcases from there, on a regular basis.
How many of those have you got?
Myself. About 4.
You do not put them together yourself. I don't believe you.
I do.
I believe that you pay somebody to do it for you, i.e. your housekeeper. I bet you don't put them together yourself.
I do. I have put them together myself.
I'd like to see some kind of evidence of that.
Can I tell you that the highest bathroom in Europe is at the summit of Mont Blanc, 14,000 feet.
These are ridiculously pointless pieces of information.
I know. It was installed...
Would you not rather talk about the introduction of the video referee?
Definitely. And they were installed and delivered by helicopter in 2007. How about that?
What, is it just at the top of a cable car or something?
Don't know. It's at the top of a mountain.
Right.
So there we are. But anyway, lots of few facts because it's Adios Amigas Day. Now then, the video evidence thing. Yeah, right.
The video evidence. Well, it's not the video evidence, it's the video referee. Now, have you seen the 2 instances of the video referee being used?
Yes.
Both of which overturned a decision made by the referee.
That's right.
Both of which took, I would say, quite a small amount of time.
I think they took a long time.
No, I mean...
I put them together and watched them last night. You're talking about a minute and a half of time.
Well, it was during the Spain-France friendly, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Now, as far as I was concerned, the French goal, which was spent something like 45 seconds celebrating, and was then disallowed.
Yes.
Right. Yeah, I would say that by the time they've celebrated the goal for 45 seconds, and then the video ref has come in and decided that this is wrong, and we're going to tell the referee you have to disallow the goal.
Yes.
They would still have been celebrating for those 45 seconons, right?
Yeah.
So it hasn't made the game any longer.
It has, because then when you get the change decision, you then get another 1 minute and a half minutes, 90 seconds of protests from players on both sides.
Well, no,
yes, it was a goal. No, it wasn't a goal.
You'd have to outlaw that. You can't. They would have to say, look, once this decision is reversed, you cannot come back to us and say, we'd like to protest, because that's not going to happen.
The easiest way to do it is the very, very simple plan that I came out with years ago, and which should still now be well, the 4th official should have access to a laptop screen of a complete video transcription of the game, so that at any time he can stop it and go back and watch the instant replay.
Isn't this the case that it's not the 4th official that's doing it? There's somebody else, including in addition to the 4th official.
It's a rugby-style thing with a box up in the sky.
That's what I'm saying, but it's in addition to the 4th official, right?
Yeah, it is, yeah.
So you'd need that, because the 4th official's got other things to worry about. You couldn't have the 4th official thinking about what was going on with the video.
The 4th official only has to worry about things that happen in the technical area, and this laptop would be placed in the technical area. And by the way...
But isn't he a fresh pair of eyes on everything, the 4th official?
The 4th official is usually the butt of complaints from managers, coaches and assistant coaches, and needs to be a little bit more out of the way, in my view.
Okay.
He has to hold the board up for the extra minutes and all that kind of stuff. He has to maintain discipline in the technical area, but he's well able, in my view, to turn his attention to a laptop when a controversial incident takes place, and literally, just like you and I would do at home, it's as simple as that. You pick up your Skybox, you press pause, then you press reverse, then you press play, and you've watched it all in 10 or 12 seconds. Yeah. You then give your valid opinion through a headset to the referee and say, that wasn't a goal.
The only thing that I couldn't quite work out. The only thing I couldn't quite work out is whether each of these decisions was being analysed, regardless of whether somebody had asked for it to be done. Yeah. So that is every goal then looked at by the video ref? Yeah. So that even if the referee doesn't ask him, can you check that, please? Because in rugby, what normally happens is the rugby referee will do that sort of square sign, won't he?
Yes, that's right.
We want to look at that.
We'll have a look at it.
But it seems to me from last night, what was happening was that when there was a goal scored, the referee was looking at it anyway.
Yes.
And then telling the referee on the pitch exactly what the deal was.
It seemed to me, I think you're right, it seemed to me, that was borderline, I better review it, rather than somebody...
It wasn't somebody asking for it to be reviewed.
No, I don't think... Well, I don't think there's any facility within football for one side or the other to ask for a review.
Well, there would be the same way that the referee talks to the guy.
Yeah, but that hasn't been introduced yet.
That's what I mean. But so the FA Cup is going to have it next year. Is that a good thing or bad thing, in one word?
If it's the same system as last night, it's going to cause chaos.
Really?
It's a bad thing.
See, I think it's a good thing.
No,
we may have to debate this some more another time.
I want my laptop system introduced.
You don't even know how to work your own laptop. This is Talk Sport.
From father to son, blood runs thin. See faces frozen still.
This is the Two Mics on Talk Sport with Wicks. Right now at Wicks, there's 3 for 2 on all decking and all wood care. You might remember this song, Mr. Parry.
Of course I do.
Red Hill Mining Town.
Yes.
From the Joshua Tree.
Joshua Tree.
You might remember that the
most famous tree in the world.
Yes, indeed. U2 are going out on tour this very year, right?
Wow.
It's on the 30th anniversary of the Joshua Tree.
Is that right?
That, I'm hoping, is the new version of the Red Hill Mining Town song, as remixed by our good friend Mr. Steve Lillywhite.
Indeed.
Who I think is on the phone right now. Mr. Lillywhite, very good afternoon to you.
Hello.
Hi, Steve.
Now, I'm hoping against hope that our production team have chosen the right version there. Is that your new version?
Yes, that is the new version, and it's very funny. The band asked me to do a remix of the song 30 years after I mixed the version that was on the album.
Right.
And when we did the album version, it was considered that there was a big brass band on it, but we decided not to have it very loud. So I went and did the mix, and I upgraded a bit, which was... it was very emotional going back to something 30 years ago, that has literally been lying in the vaults. So it was an amazing trip down memory lane. So I finished the mix and sent it to the band, and they said, I love it. Then I get an email from Bono going, Steve, I think the mix is great, but please, I want to sing the verses again. So,
so he wasn't happy with you using the 30-year-old vocals, in other words?
Exactly. So he much prefers he's sung it again, and I think he's done a fantastic job. And it's actually being released for Record Store Day, which is a fantastic. I'm not a great man for all these different days that seems like every day is like Aluminium Day.
Yeah.
Or it's
we had Puppy Day the other week as well.
Oh, today we've got Adios Amigos Europe Day.
Amigos Europe Day. Yeah,
exactly. We're out of Europe Day. Steve, tell me one technical thing, please. There, when it's in the vaults, how many different tracks is it on? How many different strands do you have to unmix and then put back together again?
Right. Well, this was back in the day when it was recorded on analog, so it was only on a 24-track. Tape recorder, but this is the great thing about technology. Analog tape back in those days, it would not be forever. So all your favorite old master recordings have all now been transferred to digital.
I see.
Because there's this thing called shedding, and the tape literally after 30 years. You can play it once, and then all the oxide will fall off the tape. So what they do is they actually bake the tape, literally bake it in an oven,
right,
to keep it holding, and then they play it once, and fingers fingers crossed that nothing falls off it.
I see.
That's amazing, isn't it? You wouldn't think that it was as mechanical as that.
No,
really.
you wouldn't know.
Oh, I tell you a great story. The studio I was working at once was doing this for Bohemian Rhapsody.
Yeah.
You know, an absolute... And it was touch and go whether this was actually even going to be able to be transferred to digital.
Yeah.
Luckily, they managed to do it.
Yeah.
But
well, I wonder how many songs have been lost to the sands of time then because of that.
Who knows?
Oh, yes, a lot, you know. But certainly from the 80s onwards, they've been very careful. You know, well, the early 70s onwards, they've been careful to copy them over to digital.
Yeah.
Sure.
But unfortunately, almost all of Porky's podcasts and mine have been saved in digital forms. There's no chance of you not being able to get them.
Yeah.
I hear that. Well, you know, for all time, this is one of the things. Is like your digital footprint is there forever.
Sure. Steve, if you're making a super record with U2 today, how many different tracks would you be using in the most modern studio in the world that you use?
Well, we try to keep it simple. You know, it never is, but we try to. It really varies. Some songs, not many. Sometimes it can run into the hundreds.
Hundreds?
You've gone over and over again. Oh, yes. Yeah. It's a very, it's a long, drawn-out process of trying to hunt for the best possible things, you know. Right. So you try a lot of things that don't eventually make the finished record, but you keep trying new parts, trying new vocals.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It's
when
Mike G knows, he came and saw me in New York, and it's it's quite impressive.
Yeah, so it certainly is. Yeah. I just wanted to ask about the Joshua Tree because obviously U2 are performing the album live, and we still don't know which order they're doing it in. But will they do? They'll do the remix version on stage of Red Hill Mining Sound.
Red Hill Mining Sound. Yeah. Well, if they can have a brass band, I don't know if they're going to be doing that. I do know that it is really going to be an amazing production. I've seen some of the some of the drawings of the stage set, and it's going to be, Bono can never do anything without putting 110% in. So he's going to make sure it's such a great deal for the fans. So I'm really excited, and they're off right now. They're off to start rehearsing.
And when does it open? When's the first performance?
Well, I don't know. I haven't. It's in about 6 weeks or maybe 2 months' time.
Right.
So it's it's all hands on deck now to get the production and obviously they're going to have to do other songs because the Joshua Tree is a short album.
Right.
So it'll be be the Joshua Tree and a celebration of some of their greatest hits. So
where the streets have no names.
Where the streets have no name.
Yeah,
that's one. Yeah,
that's on
the Joshua Tree.
Exactly.
He has no idea. He doesn't have the Joshua Tree.
Of course I do. on the roof of but I want it on the roof of a big building in LA where the firemen are coming along trying to close it down.
That's right. Well, they stole that idea completely from the Beatles, of course.
That's right, yeah, Savile Row, yeah.
There's nothing wrong with stealing ideas. No. Porky's made an entire living out of it. Yeah. Now, obviously, with April Fool's Day is coming up on Saturday, Chelsea are playing Crystal Palace. All the news this week, Steve, about your team has been around Eden Hazard and whether he's going to go to Real Madrid or whether they're going to pay him some ludicrous amount of money to hang around.
Well, we played pretty well last game without him, and what you can do with £100 million is quite incredible.
It is,
and but we obviously want to keep him. But however rich you are, there's someone richer, and even after the richest person, there's the added kudos, and we all know this. It's playing for Real Madrid. If you're one of the best players in the world, has to be an ambition of yours, because, they have such a history of taking the creme de la creme. So, I feel we have a system and a manager that we can lose one of our best players and we'll be okay.
Well, I hope you don't buy Lukaku with your 100 million quid, that's all.
Well, it's either Lukaku or possibly Sanchez from Arsenal, right?
Yeah.
It is. Personally, we have a history of Drogba and Costa and the big burly centre forwards. I do think Lukaku, and I'm sorry to say this, Mr. Parry, But I think it's about time for him to come home. He's been a bit of a naughty boy, but it's about time for him to come home.
Well, if you guys had anything about you, you wouldn't let him go in the first place, would you? That's all I can say. But you're absolutely right, Steve. Every football club, because we might be in the same position, have the responsibility then to replace players they lose with other players who will then allow the fans not to remember the player who's gone.
Yeah, absolutely. And you will charge us, a good 60 or 70 of that 100 million. And for a club like Everton, let's face it, and if I think it's as important that you hold on to your manager as it's more important you hold on to your manager than you hold on to Lukaku.
I agree with that. I agree with that.
You do, yeah. So, we all, there's always someone bigger than you, and I'm afraid Chelsea at the moment are bigger than Everton, but Real Madrid are bigger than Chelsea.
That's absolutely right. Yeah.
Now you're out back in the Far East, Steve. You're going to be able to see the game. It's a 3 o'clock kickoff, so sort of 8 o'clock your time, right?
Yeah, at 6 actually. So 9 p.m. No, I'll be watching. My Saturday nights are always spent, as you know, anywhere outside of the UK, it's very easy to watch any football match you want.
Right.
Sure.
So. No, I shall be watching, and it's the great thing about the Chelsea team at the moment is that you get the feeling that they are really concentrating on just one game at a time, and really all they ever change is Fabregas, or they change Willian.
Yeah.
They've got Willian, Pedro, and Hazard, 2 out of those 3.
Well, they've got to build a team over the summer, Steve, for an assault on Europe, because the best way to forget about a season out of Europe is to spend a season winning Europe.
Absolutely. And you know what? Sometimes it makes you think, it's worth a punt on any team that comes 6th. Any team that has no Europe, that's one of the big teams, must have a chance of winning. Because
totally agree.
When you look at Leicester last year, when you look at Chelsea this year, it really does help. I think the worst thing is playing on a Thursday.
Yeah, exactly.
And
Totally
let's hope both those Manchester clubs are playing on a Thursday.
Yeah, I totally agree with that as well.
There's a bit of nastiness in this.
Exactly. Let's put the boot in.
Put the boot in. We've got to go. And we'll talk to you soon.
Put the boot in.
Steve Lillywhite.
Steve.
Delicious. Thank you very much indeed giving us the update on U2's movements. Of course, Red Hill Mining Town remixed. Going to be released for Record Shop Day, which is coming up sometime soon. We got the Porky Quiz coming up next.
Yes.
This is Talk Sport.
So ferry, cross the Mersey, 'cause this land's the place I love, and here I'll stay.
What a lovely song that is.
Well,
now, how can you not be a fan of that song if you're a fan of anything to do with the Merseyside?
Well, because it's very associated to Liverpool Football Club.
Is it?
Jerry Marsden's a Liverpool fan, and, he did, Walk On and all that kind of stuff.
I have heard them play it at Anfield,
Which wasn't even their song. It came from Carousel, didn't it, the musical.
You'll Never Walk Alone, you mean?
You'll Never
Walk On's a U2 song.
Yeah, well, you know what I'm talking
confused
about.
after
Walk
sort of
On and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Last time I was there, I only ever saw the ferry crossing the Mersey twice in the space of like 2 hours.
Yeah.
I think it's very haphazard sort of thing.
Well,
now.
once the Everton ground's underwater, you'll have to use the ferry a lot more.
To use a submarine.
Obviously. Now, it is, of course, time for the Porky Quiz, and that's why we're playing that music.
Yes.
I'm about to be handed in my hot little hand the quiz questions from Izzy, who has not put them in a sealed envelope, but you can see clearly there's only one piece of paper.
Yeah.
Thank you, Izzy. Very, very clear, one piece of paper.
After your overnight collaboration with the so-called independent quizmasters.
I can't speak for them.
Yeah.
I can't. This is the first time I've seen these questions.
Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah.
The independent quizmasters have to come up with 10 questions, of which there are 10 answers, not multiple choice. If you get one correct, you will hear this sound.
Yeah.
If you get one incorrect, you will hear this sound.
Yes.
So you prepared?
I'm very prepared, yeah.
Now, we did speak
earlier
earlier
about this.
since
Tuesday.
We did speak earlier about this,
yes.
and you admitted that it's been quite a few years since Everton beat Liverpool, hasn't it? In the old status of matches. Anyway, question number 1.
Yeah.
Are you ready?
Yes.
Who is the only player to have played for both Liverpool and Everton in both derby matches in the same season? This is a great question. Do you know? Why have you gone quiet?
Because I'm thinking.
By the way, for all people
who
are listening to this currently, you can go onto Facebook and watch the Porky Quiz live as well.
Yes.
There's a link on Twitter, and it's also on my personal Facebook page, Mike Graham, and also on the Two Mics.
Yes.
So go and have a look.
Yes. Now,
watch Porky's squirming live.
Now, Peter Beardsley, of course, plays for both teams. Thinking aloud here, by the way. Think that's not my answer.
Hurry you.
That's not my answer.
You sure?
Yeah. Let me think. Wait a minute. Hang on. Don Hutchinson played for both. That's thinking aloud.
Well, how many are you going to give me?
Hang on.
I need one.
I
need one name.
Who was the fullback? Was it Gary Ablett? Thinking aloud. I'm going to say it was Don Hutchinson.
Incorrect.
No!
It was, in fact, Abel Xavier in 2002.
Abel Xavier, the man with the funny hair.
That's the man with the funny hair.
What year was that?
In 2002.
So they must have not had the transfer window in those days. It's an outrage.
What do you mean?
You should have said pre-transfer window.
I didn't say anything about the transfer window. He played for both teams.
Player can't play for two teams in the same season with the transfer window.
Well, he's the only one. Question number 2. Which player is Everton's most expensive signing from Liverpool?
Everton's most expensive signing from Liverpool?
From Liverpool.
That would be... no, I'm thinking aloud here. What's this got to do with the Merseyside derby? Well, because it's supposed to be about the historic Merseyside derby.
It's got everything to do with the Merseyside derby. Because Everton and Liverpool play in the Merseyside derby, and it's a question of who went from Everton from Liverpool to Everton, and who was the most expensive.
That would have to be one of the greatest players who ever put on an Everton shirt, Beardo, Peter Beardsley.
Correct.
Hooray!
But I presume you won't want the point for that, since it's got nothing to do with the derby.
Of course it does.
But
it's got everything to do with the quiz.
By coincidence, I can tell you the amount was for £1 million in 1991. Question number 3. The FA Cup fifth round tie in 1967 was watched by 104,487 people at both grounds. Everton won 1-0. Who scored the goal?
Alan Ball.
Correct.
Hey! I was there.
This is just the one where you were the only.
No,
it was
Goodison.
Everton fan on the Kop.
No, it was a Goodison. I was standing on Gladys Street behind the goal.
Okay. Question number 4.
Yes.
When was the first meeting of the teams at Wembley? Now remember that this is, of course, a question and a quiz which you requested to be about only post 1958.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
So the answers cannot possibly be for 1958.
No. Okay.
Okay. So I'm giving you that as a free, gratis piece of information.
Yes, thank you. Yeah. Right. Now, the problem is, this all happened in the 80s when I was mostly in America, so I had to watch it from afar, and there wasn't a great deal of coverage. But I think the answer is...
Got into scouts now.
No,
scouts mode.
No, I'm just
the answer is...
I think the answer is... the first time we met at Wembley...
Yes.
Famously, of course, we played... 2 cup finals against each other in the 80s. Gary Lineker scored against Grobbelaar, but we lost that one 3-1. Then we lost the next one through because Rushy scored both times.
You don't get any extra points for this.
But before we won the FA Cup in 1984, Steve Sherwood in goal for Watford, we played in the League Cup final at Wembley, but it was a draw. We lost the replay, so it was the League Cup final 1984.
Correct.
Hooray!
He's now got 3 out of 4. Unprecedented high scoring at the moment. Question number 5.
This is when the substitute set of questions will come in now, the harder ones.
There is no substitute set of questions.
Right.
Question number 5.
Yes.
Referee Graham Poll famously disallowed a winning goal in the April 2000 derby, saying he had already blown the final whistle.
Yeah.
Who scored it?
What was the year again, please?
April 2000.
I was going to say, I thought you were talking about the semi-final at Main Road when a perfectly good goal was ruled offside by Clive Thomas, the referee.
Well, I said Graham Poll.
Graham Poll, 2000.
Yeah.
Let me get my ducks in a row here. 95, 2000.
We'll have to hurry you.
And you say it was because he said he'd already blown a whistle.
He did.
Blimey. What was that? That was... Oh, crikey. So, 95... Do you know what? I think it might have been... I hope I'm not... Gordon... No, it was... I think it was Duncan Ferguson.
Is that your answer?
Yes.
Correct.
What?
Incorrect.
No.
It was Don Hutchison, funnily enough.
Do you know I was going to say Don Hutchinson?
Yeah? Well, it doesn't matter what you're going to say.
Don Hutchinson.
It makes no difference what you're going to say. Do you want to know the circumstances? The circumstances were that it was the goalkeeper, Sander Westerveld, kicking the ball out. Hit Don Hutchison on the back. Bounced over Westerveld and went into the goal.
I was going to say Don Hutchinson.
The goal was disallowed, and it was later proved to have been incorrect, and the goal should have stood.
I know. And do you know what? I was going to say, no, it was Don Hutchinson.
You've used up all the time now, so we've only got 2 minutes to do the final 4 questions. Question number 6. The Toffees reached their first FA Cup final in 2009. In which round did they beat Liverpool?
2009. We lost to Chelsea. Did we beat Liverpool in the semis? No, we didn't. We beat Manchester United. So it must have been the 5th round.
Incorrect.
No!
The 4th round.
4th round.
Question number 7.
Oh, my God.
What was the score in the corresponding fixture last year?
Sorry, in the what?
The corresponding fixture to this weekend last year.
At Anfield?
Yes.
This time last year?
Yeah. Well, it was roughly this time.
Yeah, I know what you mean, let me see. Was that the... That wasn't the Jags equaliser, was it? Let me just think now. Life moves at such a pace.
It does. We've only got about a minute left.
Right, OK. My heart says a draw. I think we lost 3-0.
Incorrect.
No!
Lost 4-0.
4-0.
Question number 8. You've got 1 minute to answer 3 questions. When was the last time Everton won the derby?
Everton won the derby?
Yeah, I need a date, not just a year.
Yeah. It was a Goodison, and it was 2000 and... what year is it now? Sorry. It was.
It's 2018 now.
Right. No, it's not. It's 2017.
Well, what are you asking me for?
So it was 2015.
Incorrect.
No!
It's 2010.
No, it wasn't.
Yeah, it was.
No, it wasn't.
Question number 9. Yeah. Who holds the record for most derby appearances?
Most derby appearances?
Yes.
That would be the world's greatest goalkeeper, Neville Southall.
Correct.
Hooray!
Which is 41 appearances.
41, yeah.
Now, you've got 4 out of 9.
Yeah.
Can you get an unprecedented 5 out of 10?
I'm sure I can.
Who is the youngest goal scorer of the modern era?
Of the modern era?
In the derby.
Of the modern era?
Yeah. I mean, post-1958.
Yeah, post-1958. It's very tempting to say Wayne Rooney or Francis Jeffers or somebody like that. But amazingly... sorry, could this be from either side, by the way?
I can't give you a clue.
Well, sorry, what's the question?
The question is, who is the youngest goal scorer of the modern era?
The modern era?
The questions are about the derby.
I know. I'm going to have to say, you see, thinking aloud...
You've got no time left here. You've got no time for thinking aloud.
I think it could be Dan Gosling, but I'm going to have to go for the obvious choice, Michael Owen.
Incorrect.
No! Who was it?
Predictably, it was Danny Cadamarteri. Who, of course, scored the winner for Everton 6 days after his 18th birthday in October 97.
I remember him.
So you got 4 out of 10.
Yeah, but it should have been 5. I should have got the Don Hutchinson one.
No.
I was thinking Don Hutchinson and Duncan Ferguson came out of my mouth. I don't know why.
Yeah, I don't know why either. 4 out of 10, absolute disgrace.
I think that's pretty
Call
good.
yourself an Everton fan.
I think that's pretty good.
Shambles.
I think that's pretty good.
This is Talk Sport.
Yeah. Right, now then, of course, we are the 2 mics. We are on TalkSport, and of course, we are with Wix.
We are
and I
with
tell
Wix,
you something, there's some fantastic offers going around at the moment. Right now at Wix, there's a 3 for 2 on all decking and on all wood care.
Indeed, there is. Now, I've got this tweet from Jamie. He says, I was thinking Don Hutchison and Duncan Ferguson came out. What a
well, you know, these things happen. When you listen... You've got to put yourself under pressure in these sort of situations. Yeah. You've got to say you must do your best. Yes. I put enormous pressure on myself because one of my mantras in life is the pursuit of excellence is the only pursuit worth pursuing, OK?
You'd like to get a bit close to it once in a while if you're pursuing it for such a long time, wouldn't you?
No.
I mean,
and you know my other excellence, of course.
You're just in the slipstream of excellence,
and my other,
which is not quite the same thing at all.
My other mantra, of course, is that if you're not winning, it's because you're not trying hard enough, which is mostly why you don't win. Okay?
Well, you got 4 out of 10, I should point that out. Poor old Porky says Joe, peaking too soon in the Porky quiz. It must be all those years of inhaling fuel. It's fried his brain.
It could have been. Now, listen, I want to tell you something.
Yeah, go on.
I've been part of a quiz that somebody's been doing. You know, one of these social networking people. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Asked me what are the biggest distractions that annoy me, and they gave me a list of like 20. And
what, you mean things that annoy you?
Yeah, they asked me to fill in this questionnaire. You know, what's the things that most annoy you?
Oh, yeah.
I'll let you know what they are. Right, cold callers. Do they annoy you?
Cold callers? Well, to be honest, I think I pretty much wiped them out of my life.
I don't answer them.
Well, I don't get them anymore. I've got an ex-directory number,
Mm.
and if anyone rings me more than once,
Yeah.
I always say to them, I used to get calls from these, what do you call the people looking for compensation from your bank?
Yeah, I've no idea.
I always say, look, this is an ex-directory number. If you have this number, you must have obtained it illegally, and if you ever call me again, I'm reporting you to Ofcom.
I don't even bother answering. I never answer my phone at home. I always then check out and see what's on the answer machine.
Yeah.
And that's for my mobile phone, because loads of these cold callers now come on your mobile phone.
Oh, I don't get those.
Oh, I do. I get them all the time. And if I see a number come up and I don't recognise it, I just never answer it. And then I pick up on the message.
Yeah.
And if they're cold callers, don't leave a message.
Right.
But if you do, I did answer one once because I was expecting a call from somebody.
Yeah.
And I said hello, and the guy said, and he had a Scouse accent, actually, so it was probably from some, one of these sort of workshops in Merseyside or something. And he said... what
do you mean a workshop in Merseyside?
What do you call them? Cold call centres.
Oh, you mean a call centre?
Call
yeah.
centre. Call centre,
Not a workshop.
Mm. And he said...
right.
He said, no, it's quite a cultured Merseyside accent.
Right.
He said, it's about your accident in your car and your insurance claim.
Yeah.
And,
you've probably heard about all those punctures you've had.
Yeah, he could have done, yeah. And I said, I haven't had an accident in my car and I haven't got an insurance claim. And he was about to go into his spiel. And I said, sorry, mate, you're wasting my time and I'm wasting yours. You got the wrong number. But I was told later that actually... that what they do is they ring up people and they say, well, we can arrange for an accident claim to be put in for you and you will get, and apparently it's some scam. Apparently.
Oh, yeah. This goes on all the time.
Apparently insurance companies have a percentage of claims. They just pay anyway because it's too expensive to
And this is why insurance
claims
prices keep going up because people have worked out that if you put in for a certain amount of money, as you just said, you'll get it.
That's right.
It's madness, isn't it?
Absolutely. Now then, the adverts that you get on your laptop before you want to watch, like, a video, like, a video of me, doing something.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
How about the two mics videos?
Yeah, the two mics videos.
You see, the difference between you and I is that I'm constantly promoting the two mics, whereas you're just constantly promoting yourself.
Yeah, but they don't necessarily annoy me because there's always a button there where you can say skip the video. Skip the advert.
You say you can skip it in about 4 seconds.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, okay. Yeah. Right, now then, it says here, one of two, trying to get through to call centres, which is like rubbish.
That does drive me mad, but I don't do too much of that either these days.
I don't either. Or having to enter numbers on a telephone keypad before you can talk to a human. Yeah. Well, to be honest... Yeah. I find paying bills now by keypad very convenient.
Do you?
Yeah, because the voice just tells you what to do. Yeah, and do you know what?
The worst is when you actually have to speak into it, though, and it says, "I'm sorry, I can't understand your response."
Well, I don't. I just take the number option.
Repeat it?
I take the number option all the time. But I tell you what, you know that we're still under the yoke of tyranny by having to pay a BBC tax every year.
We are indeed,
for the TV licence.
Yeah, TV licence.
They've now taken away the option when they send you they want you to do it online all the time now. I refuse. You know what I do?
What do you do?
I pretend to be blind and deaf, and I ring the blind and deaf number. Seriously.
Well, only you can do that.
No.
Now, we're really out of time before you go on, right? Because
right.
this is the Two Mics on TalkSport with Wix, and we have to do this because every day we give away a £100 Wix gift card to the best caller, and today's winner is Tez, the Hammers fan. He wasn't there the first time around, but was the second. Yeah. He told us that Slaven Bilic is West Ham through and through, and that there is no reason to get rid of him. Yeah. So that will be encouraging for Slaven Bilic.
Very, very encouraging indeed.
I had something very annoying happen to me today, which is one of the most annoying things that happens.
Well, I had something annoying. Somebody screwed the questions on the Merseyside derby quiz. Anyway, go on,
Not
please.
true, no. Sorry, this is not about you. I came on my way into work today. I thought I'd better pick up some cash. Oh, yes. And I went to about 2 cash machines, knowing where they were, only to find they were temporarily out of order. Yeah, well, which is very annoying. I finally found one that wasn't working, right? And there was a guy standing there fiddling about with it, right? And, you know, when I go and get money out, you put the card in, you go bang, 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 bang. Yeah. You put the money amount you want, you take your card, you take your money, you leave. This guy clearly was having problems. And I'm standing there. Eventually, I had to tell him to get out of the way because he kept putting his card back in, taking it out, putting more numbers in, you know, taking his wallet out, putting another card back in. It's an absolute nightmare. Yes. Incredible. Almost as annoying as working with you. But not quite.
Do you know what I find annoying about those?
We haven't got money more time.
No, you know when you want £200, but the machine gets it wrong and just gives you 20. and then you have to do it again.
Properly.
No, I've put in properly, but the buttons have stuck. And again, I hate my bank to think that I'm so cheap that I only take out 20 quid, you know what I mean? So I always then take out another 200.
Right. OK, thank you very much for that particular piece of insight.
I'll
If you see Parry buy a bank machine, you can always remove 200 quid from him. This is Talk Sport. Don't forget to follow the Two Mics, at the Two Mics on Twitter and on YouTube. Just look for Two Mics TV.